Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's going on. I'm not sure if you can see me or hear me. Bear me 1 second. I'm just going to watch on YouTube quickly. Let me just see. So when you say you're waiting, um, did you not just see everything I just did? I'm really confused now. I'm really confused. Okay, so now a couple of comments are coming through. I did just start the show and talk for about 3 minutes. Did you guys not see any of that? Oh my days, I've got to start again, ain't I? I've got to start again. Anyway, good morning. I don't know what happened. It said that I was live. And I was talking, and in the top left-hand corner, it was showing me that no one was watching, but it was saying I was live. So sorry. I've just wasted 3 minutes of breath. Some YouTubers and some Spurs fans out there will be happy that I've wasted breath. It means they don't have to see any more of me. Hang on one second. Sorry. Anyway. Happy new week. I know it feels like a Monday. I know it's Tuesday, and that means that we've had a bank holiday in the UK. So I hope you are all rested, especially those of you in the UK. Basically, what I was saying when I thought that everyone was watching, yeah, it's exactly what I said. Yeah, what I was saying was that this is a massive game. This is a massive week and the biggest week at this club for 6 years, since the Champions League final. Look, can we, can we go one better than the last time we were in the European semi and final? You'd like to think so. Will we? Sure. Why not? Sure. Definitely we can. We've got the games to do it. It's just whether or not we've got the ability to do it on the day. Are we going to crack? Which Spurs are we going to see? And what I was saying was this time last week, was kind of the time where we heard that Bergvall was going to be out. And I wasn't devastated. I think Bergvall's a good player. I think over the next couple of years, I think he'll develop nicely from what I've seen of his abilities. I think he's going to be a very good footballer. Technically looks good, physically looks good. A lot to learn, but he's a teenager. They've all got a lot to learn at that age. However, I didn't think it would be the difference between us winning the Europa League or not. Now, Maddison, there's a difference. There's a difference with James Maddison. And we're going to have a look and see. We all knew this news was coming, right? We all knew this news was coming. By the way, I'm not saying we can't win it without Maddison. It's not what I'm saying. Just saying it's just made the task that little bit harder. And this was the news story yesterday. Do you know what? Before I do that, hang on. How rude of me. How rude of me. Let's see who's in the chat. Mario 2012. How are you, buddy? Hope you're well. Atavatron Wembley. Good morning to you. Good afternoon, wherever you are. It might be the evening. Hello to you as well. Dobby's dad. Love that as a name. Dobby's dad. Good morning to you. Mark Taylor. How you doing, man? Hope you are well. Aussie Ange hater. He wants the likes up. Yeah, we should get the likes up. One thing, I've got a very loyal following. People who watch me and help me out and enjoy my content, but we're not very good at smashing the like button. So sorry, I don't know what was happening. I really don't. I was live for about 3 minutes and then I came out and came back in. I don't know what happened. 2 games for glory. Mario, absolutely right, mate. 2 games for glory. And the fan base deserve it, don't they? The fan base have deserved it. It's been, first of all, not just a horrible year this year, but it's been horrible for a while now. And Spurs deserve that trophy. The fans deserve that trophy. Whether Spurs do is up to the players on the pitch. Good morning to Costa del Spur, Gareth Osborne, Steve, Mike Pepper, Ali Garcia, Lynn Simpson. Good morning to you. Dan Payton, how you doing, brother? Hope you're well. Bobby Andrews. We're going to talk about this. Going to talk about this in just 1 second, as you can see from the screen. Big up to Ghosted. Big up to Furbo. Big up to the 2 marks. This is the Sheriff. Hope you're doing well. Big up to You're on Mute. Big up to Jermaine Cunningham. How you doing, Jermaine? I hope you're well. So if we get through and get Man U unworried, they're crap, but they're Man U. Yeah, I think the worrying thing, Jermaine, is we were having this chat yesterday. They're crap, but we're crap as well, right? Like it's kind of like the battle of the two most underperforming teams in the country. Big up Corey Boy. So sums up the season with Matters out. We're going to talk about it, Corey. I hope you're well, brother. Hope you're well. Someone called Spurs Talk Show apparently got a small little YouTube following. Morning fuckface. I've been called worse. Sean, I've been called worse. I've been called worse this morning and it's only 10:15. Morning, mate. If you haven't subscribed, come on, get over to Sean. Sean and I are going to be doing a new weekly show together soon, starting next week. So please keep an eye on that. I love talking football with Sean. We come at it from very different angles, but listen, it's good to learn each other's point of views. Big up to Terry O'Shea. How you doing, brother? Hope you're well. Lee Enigma, absolutely bang on, mate. Absolutely bang on. Without Maddison, I think, and we're going to go into more detail, it takes away such an important element of our creativity that you're right. We are going to have to be defensively sound. You're absolutely spot on. Big up to JS. Big up to Gus Parker. Rich C. They're all here today. What's the worst could happen? Rich, do you know how many silly things could happen in the world of Spurs between a Tuesday and a Thursday? This is Tottenham we're talking about. Big up to Alfie Hall. Makes me bloody worried as well, Alfie. Hope you're doing well, brother. Daniel Tyler's here. There he is. There he is, my main man. How you doing, bro? Hope you're well. Alex McCarthy, beyond 72. Sam, salute to you as well. Adiz. Look at this. It's the brother from another mother. Philly, do you know what I don't like about us being brothers from other mothers? You got the tan. Look how pale I am, man. I was looking yesterday and going, I need sun. I am pale. I am pale. Let's get into it. Good morning, 100 Gorillas. I love that. 100 Gorillas. What's a good name? Like just whacking it out there as a YouTube name. Big up Jason. Big up Kudos. Big up everybody. Big up Steve. How you doing? Long time no see. You haven't missed anything. We're just getting going. Big up Arrow and big up Finn. I'm not doing any more big ups. That's it at the moment. No one else has commented. James Maddison. We knew this was coming. This isn't a shock to anyone, but it is a massive blow. And this is someone that everyone who knows my channel, everyone who watches my channel knows that I think this is the best footballer at Tottenham Hotspur. I've taken a lot of stick for it. I'm told he's not, and Kulu is, or Romero is, or Mickey is. This guy, for me, is the one that makes us tick. This guy, for me, is the one that opens doors. He is the creator. He is the architect. He is the one that links up play from back to front. Now, what will happen is I'll be clipped up now of saying, oh, Spurs can't win without Maddison. And that's not what I'm saying at all. But let's have a look at what's said, and we'll take it from there. So this was from Sammy Mockbell, so a senior football correspondent for the BBC, as you can see. I mean, I could have picked a million articles. This was the first one that came up. This was yesterday. So Tottenham midfielder James Maddison is expected to miss the final 3 weeks of the season with a knee injury. The 28-year-old scored, but was then injured during the last Thursday's 3-1 win over BODO Glimt. Head coach Postecoglou sounded positive in the immediate aftermath of the game, but it became clear on Friday morning the injury was more serious than first feared, and subsequent scans have confirmed that. Sources have indicated that Maddison is being assessed for knee ligament damage, the extent of which will be clarified in the next 48 hours. The news will arrive as a blow to Tottenham, who are in pole position to reach the final. Maddison will also almost certainly not be available for either the semi-final second leg or the potential final. Speaking following the 1-1 draw, Postecoglou said we'll probably get some clarity on Monday. It's fair to say it's not looking promising. We'll wait and see. So we kind of know that he's not going to be fit. And we talked about this on the Spurs review on Sunday night, and it was about where do we adapt? Where does the creativity come from? Because a lot of the conversation all season has been about Maddison's mentality, Maddison's injuries, Maddison's like people are, has he got that leadership about him? But he's the one, I think, in the last 3 months when I watch, he's the one where I think the effort's there every game. This guy's the one riling people up. This is the guy, you see him in the huddles. He's giving the talks. You know, Maddison's the one geeing people up. Maddison's the one talking to the kids, to the youngsters, to coax them. And I really like that. But without him, I'm just looking and saying, where's this creativity coming from? And I'm looking around the Spurs team. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at some of the creativity from everybody else in the Spurs team, shall we? So if I go to the Spurs squad, bear with me 1 second. League, Premier League, Tottenham. Here we go. So if I look at the Spurs squad, let's start with Pedro Porro. Pedro Porro has got 6 assists in the league, none in the FA Cup, none in the League Cup, and 3 in the Europa League. So Pedro Porro's got 9 assists across the season. So he would be the one you would say that's got, and most of the time it's from that brilliant delivery, isn't it? Is he a creative player or has he got a great cross? There's a huge difference, right, between being the guy that gets on the ball, that prods, that probes. So you've got creativity there, but not from a kind of middle of the pitch aspect. Then if we have a look at, we'll look at a player like Destiny Udogie. He's got 1 assist in the league, none in the cups and none in the Europa League. So again, we know that from Destiny Udogie, you're not really getting creativity. Jed Spence. Jed Spence has got 2 assists in the league, none in the cups, none in the Europa League. So again, from that left-hand side, if you've got Spence and Udogie, there's no real creation coming from there. Then let's have a look at Rodrigo Bentancur. No assists in the Premier League, 1 assist in the League Cup, and no assists in the Europa League. So again, from a midfield standpoint, Bentancur doesn't have that. Or if he does, he's not showcasing it in the particular setup that Spurs are putting out each week. We look at Bergvall. I know he can't play, but Bergvall, he's only got 1 assist in the league. He's got no assists in the cups and no assists in Europe. So again, we are so light on creativity. Basuma, no assists in the league, no assists in the cup, no assists in Europe. You would expect that, not his type of game. Let's have a look, shall we, at James Maddison. So James Maddison has got 7 assists in the league, no assists in the cups, not really played in the cups, and 3 assists in the Champions, in the Europa League. Now, if we look away from him, we know Papa Sarr's not creative. I can look at it. Papa Sarr's 2 assists in the Premier League, none in the cups and none in Europe. Now, you got Brennan Johnson, 3 assists in the league, none in the cups and 1 in the Europa League. So 4 assists all season for a guy that's playing out wide right. Kulusevski. Now, this is where we're going to look at and go, come on, this has got to be our hope, right? You got 4 from Kulu in the league, 4 in the cups and 2 in Europe. So Kulusevski has got some assists. My worry with Kulusevski, no, Stanley. My worry with Kulusevski is that for the last couple of months before his injury, he didn't look right. Since he's come back, he looks very, very off. Whether that's the injury, whether that's fitness, whether that's confidence, all I know is he just doesn't look right. He's got to be the one that finds some sort of spark, because other than that, I'm looking at Odegaard. Odegaard, not a single assist in the league. Odegaard, not a single assist in the cup. Odegaard, not a single assist in Europe. So when people say, oh, I like Odegaard, he doesn't actually assist and create. Then we go over to Matisse Tell. Matisse Tell, 1 assist in the league, none in the cups, none in Europe. There's no creativity coming from anywhere. Solanke, 3 assists in the league, 1 in the League Cup and 4 in Europa. It might need to be that. It might need to be the ball into Solanke and bringing others into the game and almost creating that way. Almost a bit more of a direct into Solanke, getting Brennan Johnson, Son or Tell, whoever plays Kulu around him. Because There's no creation. Sonny, 9 assists in the league. So Sonny has got some creation there, some good creation there. 1 in the cup, 2 in Europe. So for me, I think that answers the question. If Son is fit, he's got to play. If Son is fit, he's got to play. Him and Kulu, Thursday, not so much Thursday. I don't know. At the moment, Thursday's an interesting one, right? You know, whenever you go into a game with a 2-goal lead, it's slightly odd, isn't it? It's slightly odd because there's always that, do we go for it? Do we sit back? Is it a mixture of the two? What happens if we concede first? Then what happens if we score first? So there's always a lot of questions around being 2 up. What I do know is if they were to grab a couple of goals and now suddenly we need goals, we've got to have the likes of Kulu and Son at their best. And the worry for me is that Son, if he does make it, I don't know if he's going to make it. If he does make it, hasn't played for a while. And Kulu, who will start, you would expect Kulu will start in this game, has just not been at it. And one of them is going to have to come to the party at a minimum. One of them's going to have to come to the party. In a final, both are going to have to come to the party. And that's the problem with James Maddison being out. And this is, I've said this all year, this isn't revisionism. When Spurs play without Maddison, I don't really enjoy it. I don't think that there's any link from back to front. I don't think there's anyone prodding, probing, creating. I don't think there's anyone dictating our play. So in the chat, let me know, what would you do? Where, for you guys, where does the creative source come from? Maybe not just about Thursday night, but for the rest of the season, because we've still got league games to go. If we win Thursday night, we've got a Europa League final. How does Ange react to this? What does he do? How's he going to adapt to Maddison not being there? Who's going to be the guy that comes and gets the ball and says, right, you go there, I'm going to ping it about. I'm going to get the ball into the forwards. I'm going to get the ball out wide. I'm going to be the late runner into the box. Because again, we've seen that a few times this year from Maddison, haven't we? That ball from Porro over the top or from Romero. I can think of the Man City goal he scored. I can think of the goal he scored the other night against BODO Glimt. I can think of the penalty he won against Frankfurt. He's been so instrumental getting through against beating BODO last week, beating Frankfurt. He's been so instrumental in what we do. So where, in your opinions, does it come from? Where, in your opinions? No, we don't need to win. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, should BODO grow? Again, just hypotheticals before anyone shouts at me. Let's get some light on in here. There you go. Let's get some light. Should BODO win? Should BODO go 2-0 up? You're going to have to find a goal. You're going to have to find a goal. And I'm asking, where's that goal coming from? Now, one of the things we could possibly do is a bit more route one. A bit more into Solanke, into Richie, and stink it out almost. I'm just throwing theories. Yeah. I think I agree, Phil. We don't always agree, but I agree. I think it might need to be a little bit more of pack that midfield, nullified, but absolutely, and let Solanke and Richie. So maybe Son doesn't play on the left and Tell doesn't play. Maybe it is Richarlison for the physical aspect. Maybe it is Richarlison to help with the defending. Maybe it is Richarlison so that when we put those balls into the penalty area, you've got Solanke and Richie attacking them. These are all theories. We genuinely don't know. We're just football fans. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're just football fans, just talking about our club. Pedro Porro, I think, is going to be very important for 2 reasons. One, he's got the best delivery at the club, hasn't he? I think he's got a wonderful cross, Pedro Porro. Absolutely brilliant cross. I'm always told I don't say anything nice about Spurs. I'm saying something nice about Pedro Porro here. He's got a wonderful, wonderful cross, has Pedro Porro. Unlike you lot, who are not wonderful at smashing the like button. There's nearly 300 of you in here and growing. Only 83 likes. Come on, people. Let's smash that like button. Let's do it. Porro, wonderful cross. And we've got to get him into those advanced positions where he can deliver those crosses. However, we all know that Pedro Porro's position on the pitch is also Spurs' weakness on the pitch. And if you actually go and study and have a look at what BODO Glimps have done all season, a lot of their play comes from down their left, which is our right, which is where Porro and Spurs are weakest, in the right back area. So this could be very interesting because he's going to have to get forward to be the creative source. But we all know that he is a bit suspect in the defensive area. No, I don't know. We might turn up at BODO and we might have a first 45 minutes that is exactly the same as the second 45 minutes in Frankfurt. Right? We could. Not a lot of attacking, sitting in, welcoming the pressure. Everyone's switched on. No inverted fullbacks. Midfielders sitting in front of the back four, defending for our lives. And you go, great, that was good to see. We dug it out. But doing that for 90 minutes is a very long time. So I think this is going to be a really interesting game for me and again, it's the 2-0 up aspect. It's going to be a very interesting game. Do we start? Do we start on the front foot? Do we not? This is going to be very interesting. Are we favourites? Absolutely. Absolutely, we're favourites. Should we go through? Absolutely. Absolutely, we should be going through. This is what the season has boiled down to. The league has been... We know what the league's been. This has been the worst league campaign I've ever seen as a Spurs fan. So we know that. So this all boils down to getting this 90 minutes of football right. Yet you're going to have to still win the final, but get there first. So for me, it's a big game, not just for Ange, not just for the players, but for the fan base as well. Because what I'd love to see is I'd love to see us go through on Thursday night. We actually get to the final and actually stop having a go at each other every 30 seconds. We can agree to disagree on the manager at that point, but you're then 90 minutes away from winning a European trophy. Yeah. People can be Ange in, people can be Ange out, people can be Ange indifferent. People can be Levy in, Levy out, Levy indifferent. But wouldn't it be nice for the fan base as a whole to have that moment? Wouldn't it be nice for the fan base as a whole to kind of come together? I'm seeing a lot of people, again, I've woken up this morning and the comments to me are just madness. Like, you're the toxic reason the Spurs have lost so many games. And you're thinking, hang on, let's be brutally honest. It's no one online's fault that Spurs have lost 19 games this season, right? It's no one's fault, right? It's no one's fault. It's the players and the manager's fault. Let's call it for what it is. It's the players and the manager's fault. But when we get to the final, let's on the day of the final, on the week leading up to the final, let's get together. Let's not, we can't have this whole nonsense thing. Every Spurs fan, I've not found one Spurs fan who doesn't want to win the final. If in the chat right now, I don't know if anyone would be brave enough to say, anyone that doesn't want to win the Europa League? Anyone? Answers on a postcard? Well, yes. Because Daniel Levy's been here for 24 years and we've never lost 19 league games. So, yes, it is on the players and the manager, Pedro. Yes. Yes, it is. There are squads out there much worse than what Daniel Levy's assembled who are not losing 19 games a season, Pedro. So, yes, absolutely. It has to fall on the players and the managers. Everyone needs to take account, right? I believe we might have had 1 year. Let me double check. I think Levy we might have had one season when he first joined. Yeah. So in his third season as chairman, we lost 19 games. Since then, we've never been anywhere close to losing 19 games of football. So I can't blame Daniel Levy for losing 19 league games. I can blame Daniel Levy for a lot of things, but not losing 19 league games. That falls on the players and the club. By the way, we've got a fan call-in show later. We've got a mature one in. Savva, you're not allowed to celebrate when we win the Europa. Go on, explain why. 40 years of being a Spurs fan, I'm not allowed to go on. Unfortunately, guys, we do get the odd one like this. We do. Unfortunately, they're not very intelligent, and you've just got to bear with them. We'll call them out because, unfortunately, this is 2025. We can agree to disagree, but Petro, okay, why haven't we lost 19 league games every year for 25 years then if it's Daniel Levy? There you go. Checkmate. Answer that, and we'll agree to disagree. Why? Our squad should not be losing 19 league games of football, Petro. It should not. It should not be losing 19 games of football in a season. We know that. Deep down, you know that. It's not Daniel Levy's fault we lost at home to Ipswich. It's not Daniel Levy's fault we lost at home to Leicester City. It's not Daniel Levy's fault. Okay, brilliant. DSY, you are toxic and negative. You've been slagging our world-class players like Solanke and Brennan. Now I know he's a troll. He was doing so well, wasn't he? He was doing so well. He had all the hallmarks of being a really good troll and then said world-class like Solanke and Brennan. Bless him. It's all right. Bless him. Bye, mate. See you later. Go. He was doing well. By the way, what I love is tonight, so on my second channel, we're going to be doing Inter Milan versus Barcelona. It should be a great game. However, on my main channel at 6 p.m., we're going to do another fan calling show. I'm not going to let Ben on this week. I think that's done. But let's see, right? Let's see who calls in. I get a lot of people all week that have said to me, I want to debate you. Cool. I want to debate you. Cool. Come on. You can debate me. You don't have, by the way, you don't have to debate. Petro said, I don't care how many losses in one season as average, one season as the benchmark. Shallow goal setting is the norm. No, Petro. No. I asked you a question, right? If I'm blaming Daniel Levy for losing 19 games this season, then why have we not lost 19 games every season that Daniel Levy's been the chairman? So when Daniel Levy was the chairman and we lost 4 league games with Poch, 6 the year before, 8 a couple of years before that, 7 the year after that, why? Daniel Levy was the chairman. So surely, by your metric, we should have lost 19 games every season if it's down to Daniel Levy. Doesn't make sense. Just doesn't make sense. Lynn, but again, 2 completely different subjects, right? I agree with you. If people are going to go, the reason we don't win titles is Daniel Levy. Sure, I'm on board. The reason we don't compete with City, Liverpool and Arsenal is Daniel Levy. Sure, I'm on board. But the reason we've lost 19 league games is Daniel Levy. No. Ange said this squad was good enough to challenge at the beginning of the season. You can't blame Daniel Levy for 19 defeats. There are so many games this year we should not have lost that we did. That's not Daniel Levy. This is why. Do you know where the Daniel Levy argument dies? For me, this is where the Daniel Levy argument dies, is that people can't separate what he is at fault for and what he's not. And when you blame him for everything, it comes across as childish and silly, right? It does. Blame him. Blame him for many things. Absolutely many things, which I do, right? I can't blame him for losing at home to Ipswich. I can't blame Daniel Levy, right? Sure, but Petro, let me chuck something else at you. If you blame him for 1 cup in 24 years, right? How many finals and semi-finals have we been in? When you're in those finals and those semi-finals, right? When you blame him for those semi-finals and those finals, are we taking all responsibility away from the players and the manager? In every semi and every final? Is that what we're doing? Because what we're doing there, that's called being disingenuous. Notorious PIG, again, the stats don't back up this theory. This is the problem that people do. They go to the injury crisis. Since the players have all been back, do you know we've won 2 of 11 since the players have all been back? So without an injury crisis, in that time, we've lost 7 further games. You've got to be balanced on this. right? 90% of the squad weren't out. Like, let's stop this. This is the thing. You know, when people like you slag me off in other channels, I get it now because you just make up stats. I'm going to show you this, right? I'm going to show you this. All right. Now, people won't want to see it because they don't like things. Please, have I still got it? This is the injuries, right? Look at the points per game when players played. It shows you there's no drop off when they're injured to not, right? Have a look on the right-hand side at the points per game, right? When Christian Romero has played for Spurs, our points per game is 1.18. When Maddison, 1.13. Kulusevski, 1.18. Porro, 1.23. These are our first team players. Bentancur, 1.23. Right? Bergvall, 1.2. Solanke, 1.04. When you look at that, it will show you that whether they've been fit or not, the points per game with them in the team is not good. And people don't like facts, but I could bring these facts out all day. Since these players have come back from injury, before the players went for injury, we weren't doing well. The injury spell we had is being used to cover up everything. I'm not saying it's not a factor. I'm not saying we wouldn't have done better without that this season. But the problem is, you all said the same thing. All of these people that are saying this were the ones telling me, wait till the players come back. Ange himself said, wait till the players come back. You'll see a different Spurs. We've not. We've won one league game in 9. We've won one league game in 9. That's quarter of a season. But Sean, this is the thing. You know I'm not a Levy fan, right? But you know I'll be fair with it, and I'll blame Levy for what Levy is culpable for. I'll blame Ange what he's culpable for, and I'll blame the players of what the players are culpable for. But I can't have this notion that, you know, we're 16th in the league. That's Daniel Levy's fault. Okay, sure. So it's Daniel Levy's fault that Spurs lost at home to Ipswich Town, who have won, hang on, let me double check, 4 games of football all year. 4 games of football all year. It's Daniel Levy's fault that we lost at home to Leicester City, who have won, I think, 5 all year, who have won 5 games all year. It's Daniel Levy's fault we couldn't beat Leicester City home or away. It's Daniel Levy's fault that we lost to Crystal Palace when they hadn't won any of their first 9 games. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. I think we've got to blame where blame is right and praise where praise is right. I think that's only fair in football. Yeah? If Ange wins this trophy, praise. You've won the trophy. Fair play to you, mate. Yeah? If Ange doesn't, he takes all the beration because we've been dreadful. But when people are going to use the injuries as an excuse, I don't think they're looking into the detail. And I get this a lot. It's surface level blaming. So when I worked in the corporate world, people who worked in my teams that would just go, oh, the bosses did this. You know, no. You don't know why the bosses did what they did. You don't know what they've spent. You don't know what they've outlaid. It's easier to just say, I don't understand. I'm blaming this. If anyone actually goes now and has a look at Spurs before the injuries, with the injuries, and after the injuries, there's not really any difference. And you know what? You know the funny thing? Didn't we hear all of this last season? Last January, when all our players came back from injury, remember there was that injuries in November and December. We were told when these players come back from injury, and we then went on to have a terrible second half of the season. I just think we need to be honest sometimes. This doesn't all lay at Ange's feet. Levy can take blame for stuff. Players can take blame for stuff. Ange can take blame for stuff. But I do feel we've got to the stage where we just say Levy is to blame. And by the way, I am Levy out. Have been since 2007. But you've got to call it as you see it, right? I'll ask this. How many of you in the summer were saying we were going to finish 3rd, 4th, 5th? How many of you were saying this is a great youth project? How many of you were saying all of these things? Suddenly, when things are going bad, it's, yeah, but Daniel Levy didn't give him the money. Oh, cool. But people at the beginning of the summer were coming onto my show, were in my chats saying the opposite. I had Spurs fans coming onto my show telling me we're going to finish 3rd on 81 points. Look at the squad. It's stronger. How many people, guys, even if you weren't the one saying it, right? Even if you weren't the one saying it, guys, in the chat, you all saw the people saying it to me. Savva, you're negative. Savva, you're negative, right? This is what Savva was negative for. Savva was negative for predicting 7th. Again, all these channels that just talk about me, all these people that watch those channels and go, yeah, Savva's pessimistic. I predicted 7th. We're 16th. If anything, I was positive and optimistic. And at that time, everyone was telling me, not everyone, you know what I mean, right? Everyone was telling me, Savva, you don't understand Ange in his 2nd season. But you don't understand Savva. You don't know what Ange does to tweak things. Cool. You don't understand the youth project, Savva. Okay, cool. You don't understand Solanke, how he fixes our attack. Cool. You don't understand Telp. Cool. So I'm told all these things. Then when they don't come true, I'm still called pessimistic and negative. And I've just about had enough of it. At the end of the day, we are turning into excuses FC. Injuries happen. Injuries happen. Every club gets injuries. Newcastle last season had a horrific injury run. They didn't finish 16th, did they? Where did Newcastle finish last year? 8th? So you have to ride the storm with the injuries. When the injuries come back, look how Newcastle went. Bub, 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 bub. Right? All of our injuries have come back. We've been worse. And now those fans that blame the injuries are using the excuse, yeah, but none of these league games matter. I hate to break it to you. There are 3 league games left. In the last 9, we've won 1. That's 12 league games. That's nearly a third of a season. And people are saying, yeah, but the league's done. A third of the season. That's 36 points to play for. And people are telling me it doesn't matter. So I think we need to, I think people need to remember what they've said. This is the thing for me. I think people need to remember what they said. And this summer, we're going to get receipts from people. Because I know the people in my chat that were going 3rd, Savva, 4th. You don't know Ange, Savva. And now the same people going, but Levy. Hang on. Levy was the chairman when you were making these outlandish predictions. Levy was the chairman when I predicted 7th. You've got Bournemouth this year. Oh, God, that got bright, didn't it? South London, the sun's come out. Bournemouth this year had a horrendous injury list and during that time won something like 11 of 14 games. So why were Bournemouth able to win those 11, 14? Spurs couldn't win a game for love nor money. Come on. Queen Ellie. I'm sorry, Mark. I'm so sorry, mate. I didn't see you there. I was ranting.
That's all right, mate.
Queen Ellie, absolutely. It's become seen as negative, Ellie, to want better. Now, I did see a good point that I liked just there, and I think we're getting on a bit better now, me and this guy, Notorious PIG. hopefully, I think some people are coming over from other channels that have berated me and are seeing I'm not actually as bad as what people are saying, right? Notorious PG, we are begging for trophies. Absolutely. I don't think anyone's questioned that, Mark. But no one wants to finish 16th in the Premier League at the same time. Is that fair, Mark? Is that fair to say?
Certainly not. Certainly not. Now, you was talking about Daniel Levy, right? Now, Daniel Levy, he's ruined my club. The club that I grew up supporting about is nowhere near what it was. Between the ages, for me, of 11 and 21, we won 4 trophies. That's 10 years. We won 4 trophies. We were in another final in 87. Right, so that's 5. And we lost the Milk Cup to Liverpool.
The Milk Cup.
Well, it was called the Milk Cup, the League Cup.
I remember, mate.
Yeah,
I remember.
And so that's 6 finals. 6 finals. We won 4 of them. And obviously, because we won the FA Cup a few times, we was in Charity Shields as well. Like, in the 80s, Wembley was virtually our home ground. You know, now it's ceased. With Levy, it's all about the money. It's all about the money. I see there's someone else going to the stadium now, doing concerts. They've just announced it this morning. I will find it quickly. I've never even heard of who it was.
But Mark, I'm gonna disagree with you here. I'm gonna disagree with you. Yes, for me, I think could Daniel Levy have done a lot more? Absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely. I'm not disagreeing that, right? But those games when we're in the semi-final, those games when we're in the finals, and I'm about to show you, I'm about to bring it up to show everyone.
That's not on him. That's not on him.
But right, okay, but then Mark, surely, if I'm playing devil's advocate on this, surely, if we've put together teams that are good enough to get to the semis and the final, then hasn't Levy done his job in somewhat respect that he's given them enough to get there? Because what we can't do, Mark, is say, oh my God, we're in semis and we're in finals. Then when we don't win them, go, Daniel Levy. Like, that doesn't... Look, I'm going to show you. Let's have a look at this, right? Let's have a look. I
get your point. I really do.
Let's have a look at this, Mark. Let's have a look at all these tournaments. I hope this works. Right. So this is Tottenham. Oh no, hang on. I wish this is Tottenham. I don't know how far this goes, but okay, yeah, look, this goes back all the way. Right. So this is Tottenham in competitions. Can you see that? Is that big enough, or do you want me to blow that up?
No, that's fine.
Right, I'll blow it up for everyone, right? So if we look here, oh no, that's too big. That's too big. So if we look here, right, let's start with the Champions League, right? In the Champions League, Tottenham have made the round of 16 3 times and the round of 16 3 times, a quarterfinals and a final. Now, if anyone had said that before Daniel Levy arrived, would we be sitting there and saying that's too shabby?
No, probably not. Well, that's only like, what, 12? That's over about 12 years. From 10, 11 to 22, 23. So you take that, wouldn't you, to be honest?
Right. So we've made Champions League. And again, I'm playing devil's advocate here because I don't like Levy.
I know you don't.
You know, sometimes I say Levy in just to wind up those lot who like bad players. Right,
I see the WhatsApp group.
You're in a WhatsApp group, Mark. You are. Yeah. Yes, you've seen. God, that was lively last night. Right. But you could see there, if I'm playing devil's advocate and we're going to blame Daniel Levy for absolutely everything, Daniel Levy got us to a Champions League final. Now, what Spurs fans will do, I get it, is we'll turn around and go, it wasn't Levy, it was Poch. But you can't have one without the other.
No.
We can't turn around and go, it was all Poch and Levy had nothing to do with it. But then on the other end, say it's nothing to do with managers, it's all to do with Levy when it goes bad.
Yeah.
And this is what we're doing at the moment, you see, with the whole Ange thing. The Ange, the fans that like Ange more than the rest of us, right? Go, oh, Daniel Levy hasn't backed him.
Hang on.
Okay, he's not backed him, surely. But when we win the Europa League this year, what's the excuse?
Yeah, there is none.
Right. So
There
this
is
is the
none.
thing. Now let's look at the Europa League, right? Let's go down and look at the Europa League. So the Europa League, for me, this is where I've been disappointed with Spurs, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
I think in more of these seasons, we've had more than good enough teams to go a lot further. And I'm actually really disappointed that this is the first time we've got to this stage of this tournament. Lots of quarterfinals.
Yeah.
Lots of round of 16s, a quarterfinal. For me, again, can we blame all of that, Mark, on Daniel Levy? Can we say that getting knocked out to Dynamo Zagreb when winning the first leg 2-0?
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's not all on him, but when Poch was here, it was clear, because you've got to remember, we're still at the old White Hart Lane then. It was clear what his directive was. Champions League money is the most important thing, because the club needed it for the new ground and whatever,
Yep.
and all that. So that was his directive, I believe. We obviously don't know, but I believe it was, Champions League, because you look how many FA Cup games and League Cup games that we lost to inferior sides, and we'd put out like weakened teams and all that sort of stuff. So
yeah, but
yes,
look at the games where we didn't put out weakened teams and didn't win. Like,
yeah, well, it's normally when we
lost,
got semi-finals and stuff, we'd sort of start the first team.
Yeah, but that means you're good enough to get there then, doesn't it?
Some of that is not on Daniel Levy, like Poch playing Son at left back against Chelsea and all that. Like, he went down in my estimations a little bit for doing that, but like, see, with any business, it is all about the people at the top. They control the direction. You know what I mean? If you're the boss and you've got a bad like attitude, and you don't care about what's going on in your factory, the rest of the people aren't going to care either. And it is his fault overall, but the on the pitch stuff, apart from not backing managers, well, he's backed this one, but but apart from you look at all the transfers we missed out on. Man,
I know, but hang on. I want to before we digress, I just want to go through this because it's going to show some very interesting data, and I know people don't want that, right? But it is going to show some very interesting data. Bear with me 1 second. I just want to check I've got this right. Right. So if we scroll down, right, now let's have a look. Right, the Conference League was a joke and terrible, right? Now let's have a look at the FA Cup. So in Daniel Levy's era in the FA Cup, we've made semi-final once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 4 FA Cup semi-finals in Daniel Levy's era. 1 quarter-final. Let's have a look. 4 semi-finals of the FA Cup in Daniel Levy's era. So far, we're at 4 semi-finals of the FA Cup, right? We're at a semi-final of the Europa League. We've made the final of the Champions League. So far, that's 5 finals. And now if we go down further, right? If we go to the League Cup, if we can get down there, right? Semi-finals. Look, semi-finals. Look at this. Winner, final. When you look at it like that and we talk about it's about winning trophies, right? As a Levy out fan, I still have to look at this and go, well, hang on. How are we going to blame Daniel? Listen, again, notice that I'm talking about the cups here, guys, right? Yeah. I'm talking about the cups. When we say 1 trophy in 25 years, right? let me do this because Perchy, we all know my Perchy's going to send me information. Perchy, with the help of ChatGPT. Here we go. Not that one. Not that one. Right. So the summary under Daniel Levy is 6 finals reached, 1 victory in 08. 13 semi-finals reached, right? 13 semis, 6 finals, right? Look at these finals reached. Why couldn't we beat Blackburn, right? We lost to Man United on penalties.
Yeah, I remember that.
Right? The Champions League final, we just didn't turn up. I can't put these on Daniel Levy.
Can I, one
Hang
of
on.
them that I can.
Hang on, just quickly. Hang on.
Oh.
And then look at all these semi-finals. So, yes, I don't want Daniel Levy here, and I think it's time that somebody else had another go at things. But if we're going to be brutally honest as a fan base and just say, one trophy in 25 years, then we've got to be honest and say, sure, but it's not just Daniel Levy, is it? It's Poch for not getting over the line in finals. Hoddle didn't get over the line in finals. Whoever else was manager during some of those finals and semi-finals. There's got to be accountability from different parts, surely.
It's both sides, really, but the final against Man City, let's not forget that the game before was against Southampton, and allegedly, I don't know, but Jose wanted to play like a weakened squad, and Daniel Levy said, no, the top 4's still on, and he wouldn't allow him to do it, and then he sacked him 5 days before a final, and so that I can put on him.
Sure, and I get it. But when you look at that data, 13 semi-finals, 6 finals, which soon could be 7. By Thursday night, it could be 7 finals. At what stage do we have to go? Listen, and by the way, Mark, I'm in full agreement with you. In league terms, I think Daniel Levy has shown zero interest in keeping us fighting.
He keeps us relevant. He keeps us even relevant. When Poch was here, when Poch was here, and we had the best first 11. I don't care what anybody says. The best first 11, prime Poch. We had the best first 11 in the Premier League, right? But he would not just roll the dice a little bit and get 3 or 4 more players, because to build a squad that would have taken us over the line. Because as soon as one of them first 11 got injured, the drop off was massive. We had the likes of Dyer and bloody what's his name, the one who's at Leicester,
and Harry Winks.
Yeah, sure, Harry Winks and all that stuff coming in.
And I get that. But that's what I'm saying. From a league perspective, right? From a league perspective, he's done a really good job, Levy, at times of getting us relevant.
But he makes us relevant just to get the Champions League money.
Hang on, let me right. He gets us relevant, but then never kicks on. For that's why I think a new owner needs to come in and have a go at it, right? Now, we're all assuming, though, that a new owner is going to come in and want to kick us on, hopefully, right? But when we're going to talk about Poch and not going to squad, there are a lot of reports that at the same time say that Poch didn't want many more players. There are a lot of reports, Mark, that say Poch was turning down players that were offered to him because he wants a small squad.
I put my fingers in my ear to that.
Right. So listen, again, devil's advocate, because for me, I can't caveat this enough. I don't like Daniel Levy in the main. But in the cup competitions, I'm sorry, there is more than enough evidence there to say winning trophies has not been on Daniel Levy. The league, I'm all over Daniel Levy. But winning trophies, we've been in more than enough positions. Champions League final, yeah? Spurs didn't turn up. Poch had how long to work with them? 3 weeks before the final to set up a plan, work with them.
And he played Harry Kane. And
the dropping of Lucas Moura. Look at the final. I mean, I was there. You were probably there as well in Cardiff for Blackburn.
I wasn't there for that one.
Should have won that game. Blackburn. Right? This wasn't a great Blackburn team. They were as good as we were. right?
Is it right that the pitch was they had rugby or something? Something was, or they overwatered it, or I can remember watching it on TV, and the pitch was horrendous.
Possibly, right?
Yeah, I
But
think so.
then I look at the final we lost to Man United on penalties. That's not on Daniel Levy. A penalty shootout is not on Daniel Levy, right? Then I look at the final. What else? What other final have we played in? Let's have a look at those finals.
There was the Man City one when Mason was in charge.
Right. So Blackburn Rovers, right? Should have, for me, no excuses. Beat Chelsea, right? In that one. No one praises Levy for that. Lost to Man United on penalties. That's not Levy's fault. The League Cup final against Chelsea. I mean, look, Chelsea were a bloody good team. You know, this was prime Chelsea, right? This wasn't Chelsea we know now. Champions League final. Well, if you're in a Champions League final and you've been good enough to beat Ajax, you've been good enough to beat Man City, you've been good enough to beat Dortmund, good enough to play Inter Milan and Barcelona, can't then put that final on him.
We had a lot of luck. We had a lot of luck in that run to the Champions League final.
Mark, the Man City one, I 100% agree with you on the Man City one. Because if there's one manager I want in a one-off game against Pep Guardiola, it's Jose Mourinho. I completely agree with you. Right? But again, it's like if we don't win this Europa League final, I think we will, by the way. I know I've got to caveat this because people go mad. That can't be on Daniel Levy. Can it? That we can't get to a final with the route we've had, play Man United in a final, this Man United, and say that's Levy's fault we didn't win the final. We can't.
No, definitely not.
You know, it's Petro. I agree, but Petro, the funny thing is, what people like you forget is in that era under Poch, and I know Mark will love this bit.
Oh yeah,
Alex loves Poch as well. So
bring it on. Bring it on.
During that 4-year period under Poch, so not the first year when he was sorting it out, not the last 6 months where it was all going wrong. During that middle 4-year period, for some of that time, for 2 of those years, we had the best defense in Europe, right?
Yeah.
We had prime Harry Kane, Dele Alli, right? Who was on fire. We had Son, who was on fire. We had Dembele, who was superb. We had Alderweireld, Vertonghen, Walker Rose. So during that period where Poch was getting to semi-finals and finals, we had a bloody good team that was finishing 2nd, 3rd, and 4th in the league.
We only had a good first 11. We only had a good first 11, though.
Sure, but hang on, Mark. But the point is, that team was good enough to finish 2nd, 3rd, and 4th in the league. It was good enough to get to finals, but then it's Daniel Levy's fault that it wasn't able to win the final. I'm not having it. I'm sorry. As much as I don't want him.
Not the finals, but I blame him that we didn't win the league in them 2 years.
Sure, but we're not talking about
Chelsea seasons.
Again, on topic, we're not talking about the league. We'll go to that in a minute.
Okay.
These cup finals, it's like this guy, right? We had a prime Harry Kane. What did we do with him? Well, prime Harry Kane was playing in finals with prime Dembele, prime Son, prime Ali, Vertonghen, Walker, Rose, Lloris. They didn't get over the line. How I feel like we've got to be fair and balanced about this. Alex, what's your take on this?
What about Poch?
No. About
Levy.
About Levy. 6 finals, 13 semi-finals, but then when we don't win those competitions, it's Levy.
Well, it's quite simple. This is just a simple equation. It's on the managers as well as Levy, isn't it? I mean, really, let's be honest here, because because obviously, Levy's not on the pitch, isn't he? You know what I mean? So sorry for my enthusiasm, but we've kind of addressed this so many times now. It's just I just don't know really what else to say on this anymore.
But you did choose to join in.
No. No, you know what I'm saying. It's like when we do this subject, we've discussed this to death so many times. So, but I'm just saying, it's like for me, like that, it's on the managers, isn't it? You know what I mean? that the only one that you can really point out that really wasn't really his fault was Jose Mourinho, because Jose Mourinho, and I didn't like Jose Mourinho, didn't want him, weren't interested in him. But like for me, Jose Mourinho was didn't get the chance to do his final because he got sacked on the eve of the cup final, didn't he? So. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that's the only thing you can blame Levy for, but we only did that for money, wasn't it?
Can we be honest? Alex, sorry, can we be honest? In all likelihood as well, don't get me wrong, I've just said myself, if I want one manager in a one-off game for a final, it's Jose. But let's be honest, this was a bloody good Man City. This is prime, this is a top Man City team that probably would have won the final anyway, if we're going to be honest.
But you never...
Jose had the knack of beating them. I think we've beaten them twice that season.
Sure,
but we could have beaten them. We could have beaten them anyway. We're in the bloody Europa League semi-final at the moment, and we should be in the final as far as I'm concerned. So I mean, anything can happen these days, isn't it? Really. But then that time of era to this era is night and day, really. Let's be honest here, because I think it was actually better then than it is now, to be honest with you, in terms of the way that football was. But yeah, just keep on topic. Yeah, for me, I mean, like I say, it's not all on Levy. I have to be honest, it's not all on Levy. It's the managers as well. You know what I mean? The managers should have really done better and taken their moment when they had taken their moment. They made mistakes. I'm more favourable with Poch, because I think Poch did a lot for us and made the team that he made by himself. Yeah, people can say whatever they want about some of the players, but most of those players were underachieving. Kane was never a Kane before Poch was there.
Well, Kane wasn't playing before Poch. Let's not revise.
Yeah, no, but that's what I'm saying.
Kane was a kid before.
Yeah, Kane was a
Poch,
kid.
right?
Yes, but Kane was never getting a chance. Never getting a chance. You know what I mean? No one thought Kane was going to be Kane.
Sherwood gave him his chance.
He gave him his chance, yes, but no one still didn't think Kane was going to be Kane, didn't they? So,
of course.
No
one's knocking Poch for that.
Yeah, so I mean, he turned that team into what he was. Because I didn't rate Poch when I'm working in the Peter myself again, because I've said it on my channel, Mr. Box Office TV. But I think there's a lot of things there. You know what I mean? So it's just over the years, these things, it comes a point where Tottenham have to just prove themselves at the end of the day, and in the end, we've got a manager here that could win a trophy, you know what I mean? So, and win a European trophy. So, it kind of shows you where we're at the moment, you know what I mean? Because for me, he should be nowhere near this. He should be nowhere near this, but the managers
why should we be we should be nowhere near winning this final?
Well, no, we should be nowhere near winning a prestigious cup like this, but we are where we are at the moment because because of the teams that we played.
But isn't that every reason why we should be near this?
No. Well, I've predicted like yourself that we should be winning this competition as well, but if we were playing different teams, like Manchester United's teams, I don't know if we got to the final as easy as we did. You know what I mean? The only one that I think is the one that we've done well against was Frankfurt, wasn't it? You know what I mean? So it's been it's amazing how this season's turning out at the moment. You know what I mean? So it is what it is at the moment. Look,
it is. Let me, James. Good morning, sir. Good morning.
Morning, boys.
In between boilers, are we at the moment? In between boilers.
I thought I'd pull over for you. Yeah, how nice is that?
Is this another 2-hour lunch break?
Let's don't say that to the boss.
You are the boss. I've seen your van, mate. I've seen your advertising. You are the boss. Look, this is an interesting one, James. And by the way, I'm just trying to play devil's advocate a bit because I think that we have a tendency to go all in on one thing. Like with the Levy thing, we have a tendency to just go, oh my God, it's dreadful. So for example, had we have won that Champions League final, right, in a one-off game against Liverpool, we weren't even good that day.
No.
How different, James, would we be sitting here talking about this football club now? we'd be sitting there going, this manager delivered the greatest trophy we've ever, this owner delivered the greatest trophy we've ever won. Doesn't that show the fine lines between failure and success?
There's always a fine line between failure and success. But in my opinion, if we're just going to look at the Poch era for a moment, I think Poch did nothing short of a miracle in respect of, in that final, the reason why I would say Daniel Levy let us down in that final is because we started the game with the likes of Sissoko on the pitch. I'm sorry, but when you've got players like that going against a juggernaut in Europe, Liverpool are different in Europe to they are in the Premier League. You can't really be having Harry Winkses and Sissokos available, in my opinion. That's where, for me, Daniel Levy has to take part of the criticism for it. And then I don't feel like it's all on one man either. I think Poch needs to take criticism in the respect of 1-0 down at half time. He needs to be able to rally that team, bring on who he needs to bring on and get us back into the game. For me, even if we would have lost that game 3 or 4-0, but come out in that second half and gone for it, I would have gone, oh, fair play. We tried our best in that moment, but we couldn't succeed. So I don't feel like it's all on one or the other. I think they kind of go hand in hand. But the majority of it, for me, I mean, going through, I think the other final was against Chelsea. I think, again, Pochettino made the mistake of playing Son left back. But when Chelsea are bringing on the likes of Hazard and Fabregas, there's not much you can do when we're looking at our bench and we're bringing on Harry Winkses and Sissokos. And there's levels to it.
Yeah. This is what I blame Daniel Levy for. This is what, because prime Poch, the Leicester and Chelsea seasons, we had the best 11 in the Premier League. The best 11. But he would not fill the... When one of them got injured, the drop-off was massive. And he would not fill the squad out with players that were... You're never going to get him as good, but similar.
Isn't that, you could say that of any team, right? That the drop-off is massive when the first 11 goes out. Other than Man City...
We look at Chelsea back in the day.
And maybe Chelsea back in the day. But if you look at a lot of teams, right? My point is this, and I agree with James 100% this week. I do agree with you 100% this week. I do think that, yes, we could have done more of the squad. But when you're there and it's a one-off final, that's where it's down to the players and the manager because you've got there. You know, you've beaten teams to get there with Sissoko, with Winks. You've beaten Ajax. You've beaten Dortmund. You've beaten Man City with these players and without Kane to get there. Now you're there. You stand up and counter. But and just quickly before, the bit you made about Sissoko and Winks, this is the interesting thing for me. When we lost Dembele in that January, and he went to, was it China he went to or Japan?
Yeah.
China, right?
Yeah, China.
Poch turned down Yuri Tielemans on loan, right? Who was a very sought-after player in Europe at that time. He turned him down on loan, right? So it wasn't that, now maybe he didn't want him, but you would rather have Yuri Tielemans have been in your midfield. And this is what I've heard a lot about Poch is that he turned down a lot of players. Apparently Poch turned down a lot and said, if they don't get in my 11, I don't want them. And that's a dangerous place to be because at the time, James, if you remember, the whole Spurs fan base, I remember we'd be having debates, not me and you, but we'd be having debates and go, oh, I'd love to bring in that defender. Well, would he sit on a bench behind Alderweireld and Vertonghen? Okay. I'd love that striker. Oh, but would he sit on a bench behind Harry Kane? Then when we're buying those players, the fans go, oh, but we didn't buy backups. Well, yeah,
but I think that again, this is where this is what I worry about Levy more than anything is the ability to get on with people and work together. I feel like he's very my way or the highway, and if you don't abide by what I want, then nothing's going to work. And but by that I mean, I give an example is for so long he wanted Jack Grealish, and yet Jack Grealish wasn't an option. He come out and said he's a fantastic player, blah 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 blah, and we didn't bother. So if he is rejecting players, but also asking for players, Daniel Levy should have said, you know what, you've got us to where we are now. I trust you. Here you go then. Here's a Jack Grealish or here's a XYZ. And then at least that way he can fall on his sword and say, you know what, I gave you what you asked for and you failed. And this is where I'm going to kind of contradict that. And I'm sorry, all you Levy out fans, but I think Daniel Levy's done everything barring that extra step to make Ange success. And Ange just flopped it. Ange asked for Johnson. Ange asked for Tell. Ange asked for Solanke. He asked for Van der Ven. All of these players he's asked for, and he's been given.
Maddison.
Yeah, he asked for Maddison. So all of these players he's asked for, he's been given. So now I don't blame Daniel Levy for the last 2 years at all. I blame all of the last 2 years on Ange. If, for example, we get a Glasner XYZ come in, and then that we revert back to the old style where we pick out a young kid here or pick out a fringe player here, then again, the full credit will go to the full blame will go to Daniel Levy again. But for me, this is the first manager, in my opinion, that he's kind of been 90% backed. And I say 90% because I don't believe that the likes of Archie Gray and stuff are a bad buy. I think they're a bad buy due to the fact of we haven't then got their successor in first, i.e. you go bring in a Edison and an Archie Gray, and you say to Archie Gray, listen, mate, we've got one of the best CDMs in the world here, or midfielders in the world here. Just sit with him, watch how he works, play how he plays, and you've got someone learning off of him. Yeah. Whereas we've kind of done it the opposite way and brought Archie Gray in first, and then not brought in somebody for him to learn off of, and then now we're seeing we're relying on an 18-year-old kid to come in and prove it. And that's no disrespect to Archie Gray. That's all on Daniel Levy for not bringing in someone for him to learn off of. So I do believe that it goes like in circles. I blame Poch for playing Son at left back. But I also have a lot of criticism to say, a praise to say for Poch, and he could have gone that extra mile and we could have pushed it over the line.
This is why.
Now, yeah. I saw a show years ago. It was when Poch was the manager. I don't even know who done it. Of all the players we could have had that Levy messed up by like skimping on wages, the odd million here, 5 million there. You know, we could have had Grealish. Let's not forget.
Sure, I don't doubt that.
We put a bid in. And Villa said, no, we want this amount. And with all the messing about that they were doing, all the haggling and that, Levy trying to save 50p here and there, the Americans rolled in, bought Villa and said, right, if you want him now, the price was like treble. You know,
yeah, but in fairness, Mark, again, this is where Savva was saying you've got to look at both sides. And I try to look at myself as I'll judge everything from my own value.
Yeah.
Poch was also given Lo Celso and Dembele, which was over £100 million worth of players, and he flopped. And both of those, I like Lo Celso, but absolutely flopped. Sissoko, 30-odd million, flopped. So it wasn't like...
Sissoko was a panic buy. Sissoko was a panic buy on the last day.
Well, I don't think it's fair to say that because you can't pick and choose. Does that mean Dele Alli was a panic buy or a hit home? Like you can't pick and choose.
James,
Dele Alli was sorted.
When Ndombele was signed, right? Let's be fair. All of us had seen, not loads of them, all of us had seen Champions League games that he played for Lyon and gone, that's a player. Everyone at the time who was in love with Poch, you know, some love Poch more than others, right? Cough, cough, up the top in the middle, right? Was going, oh my God, Ndombele being managed by Pochettino. And it's only then after the fact where people go, oh, what a terrible signing that was, Ndombele. Again, Ryan Sessegnon, people were creaming their pants. Look at this player. Poch is going to do this with him, do that with him. Pochettino, it's funny because when Pochettino signed Son, right, the praise is there, the credit's there because he coached Son and blah, 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 right? Dele Alli, same thing, right? Toby Alderweireld, the same thing. Wanyama, right?
It wasn't just the fans either. I remember, obviously backing your point up, sorry to interrupt you there, Declan Rice actually come out and said the best midfielder he played against was Ndombele. So there was obviously technical ability there, and Poch dropped that.
But what we fell into the trap of, and listen, again, a lot of this is devil's advocate, because otherwise it would be really boring, right? Is when a player works out, right? When a player works out, it's always the manager wanted this one. When a player doesn't work out, Levy's gone cheap again, Levy's skimped out. And I'd love to be a fly on the wall and actually know for definite which players, which managers actually wanted as opposed to were given. Because again, when Solanke signed for Spurs, everyone and their dog, not everyone, you know what I mean. Oh my God, Solanke, look at him. Look what he does. Videos about how great he is. Now, he didn't want Solanke. Brennan Johnson, Ange chased him before at Celtic. So we know he likes him, right? He then came out and said he was his biggest signing of the summer. And now all of a sudden, he wasn't backed. He was given Brennan Johnson. James Maddison at the time, it was his guy. Mickey van der Ven, his guy, right? Now all of a sudden that certain players haven't worked out, but he's not been backed. And I think it's just a bit disingenuous that we pick and choose the ones that have worked and the ones that haven't to decide who the manager wanted.
Ange has definitely
all the
been
blame away from every manager.
Ange has definitely been back. Put it this way, right? If Poch had been given the level of backing that Ange has had, we'd have won those league titles.
You don't know that, though.
You don't know that.
You don't know that,
We
though.
wouldn't.
You don't know that.
You don't know that, though. And the thing is, though, I'll go back to what I said last week when people were laughing at me. Because I looked back to the comments and everyone was laughing at me. Yeah, on Friday when we had that debate, Savva. Yeah, right. When I said that the fans got what they wanted. Yeah, the fans got what they wanted. Yeah, because of the whole thing with Poch, Mourinho, Conte, and now Ange has come in, right? We've got what we wanted. We backed the manager. We wanted backing of the manager. He got it, right? He got the good players. He got it, right? He stood away from the football. We got it, right? You know what I mean? So for me, like the fan base have got what they wanted. We wanted young players. We got it. Now because of Archie Gray's come again. I thought I could get away from Archie Gray, but unfortunately, I can't get away from Archie Gray. Not even Ian's not in the street. Can't get away from Archie Gray. You know what I mean? You know? I think some people should put a pound in the jar whenever they mention Archie Gray's name. The point is, though, yeah, right? Is that he got what he wanted. So I was talking truth. So everybody was having a go at me last week on Friday. You should have had that in shame. You know what I mean? Because you know I was talking the truth again. You know what I mean? Back to you, Savva.
Alex, let's use a player as an example, right? Let's use a player as an example. This, for me, epitomises our fan base and the whole Ange Spurs era, right? When Timo Werner signed on loan, right, two players. When Timo Werner signed on loan, some of us went, what are we doing? The other 90% of the fan base were coming onto shows going, you're ungrateful. He's perfect for Ange Ball. This is a good loan for 6 months. Then when it didn't work, we're going, please don't sign him again in the summer. We did. Those same fans came back. This is a good signing on a loan. This is good. We save money in the market. We can put our transfer money elsewhere. Now it's, but he was only given Timo Werner. And the better example, guys, is this one. Anyone remember back to last January, right? Not this one, just gone, the one before. Everyone wet themselves. We've beaten Bayern Munich to Radu Dragusin. Yeah? Spurs, he picked Spurs over Bayern Munich. It shows we can compete, right? Ange wanted him. Ange got him. Now, but we're buying crap players like Radu Dragusin. Right,
he's not a crap player, isn't he?
He's not crap at all.
Get the tone of what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, he's phrasing.
This is what we're doing as a fan base, right? When we're signing Maddison, Solanke, Van der Ven, Dragusin, when we're signing all these players, everyone is putting them on pedestals, right? Then when Spurs aren't very good, he's not being backed and he was given kids. Then stop talking about youth projects. Stop asking for every signing to be a 19-year-old. Stop asking for Tells. Stop asking for Grays. Yeah? We contradict ourselves so much. We
Let's not
contradict
forget-
so
let-
much.
I think that's
Let's
why.
not-
I think that's why I kind of tried to make my own opinion rather than listen to anybody
Yeah.
else. And by that I mean a lot of people follow the crowd. I mean, me and Dan for a long time have said, if these players are 6 or 7s out of 10s, if you play them in the right positions and the right formations with the right tactics, you're going to get 8 or 9s out of 10s. Like that's my opinion.
Agreed.
For me, I believe, and I'm not here saying Dominic Solanke's fantastic, by the way, but I believe if you said Dominic Solanke, listen, I don't want you to leave that box. Your whole job is stand inside the box, don't move, use all your fitness and energy for your movement inside the box, and then you push James Maddison to the edge of the box and you had wing backs. I think this team, personally, if Glasner, Conte, Mourinho, I think this team would be top 4. I actually genuinely believe, plus a player or two, this team is top 4 with the right manager, the right tactics, the right philosophy.
Yeah.
I mean, people were saying Dragashin's a bad player. People were saying Danso, should we sign him? Shouldn't we sign him? Danso's been fantastic. Maybe not fantastic, but he's been a bloody good defender. You play him in a back three with Romero and Van der Ven each side, I think you've got a bloody good back three.
Even
But the problem
Dragashin. Even
but the problem
Dragashin.
is-
in a back three. How he
Yeah.
played in Italy.
Yeah, but the
Yeah.
problem is with this manager, we've got all of these players, but we're saying, right, Dominic Solanke, you drop back to CDM. Mickey Van der Ven, you're going to play centre midfield with Romero. Fullbacks, you're going to go play number 10. So for me, there's only so much you can blame on going back to the original point on the Levies. And listen, there are things I blame Levy for, but the last 2 years, the amount of money we've spent, I don't care about how many players we've sold to get that money in to then spend it. This guy's got a whole new front three, 2 or 3 new midfielders, new defender left, right, centre, a new goalkeeper. How many more players do you want Levy to come in before you go, oh yeah, you've done the right thing there? For me, he's done the right thing. He's replaced on the whole squad. Now you have to look at the manager, the tactics, the coaching staff.
To be honest, bringing it back to Levy, weren't we told when the stadium was built, this will get us to compete, this will take us to the next level, this will do this, this will do that, right?
But Mark, it has.
And all
the
we've
stats
done is
prove it has.
all we've done since that stadium is opened is regressed. We're buying kids.
Yeah, but
We're not
it hasn't
paying
taken us to the
300
next
grand a week.
level. We used to spend I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking the players here. Luka Modric, wasn't that £16 million? And that was our top budgets. We are now spending 60 million on Dominic Solanke's and 10 million loan spells for Tell. So to say it hasn't moved the needle, we have
Hang on a minute, James. That wasn't
70-80% more value is going out on every single player. Our average spending was 10 to 15 million pound a player. Now it's 30 pluses. So
hang on a
has
minute.
it been a game changer? Yes, it has.
No, it hasn't, because that's the trends of the prices. The prices over the last 5 years have gone mad.
Okay,
So when
if
was
it
the
would have
last
kept the prices,
when was the last time Brentford spent £60 million on a player? When was the last time Brighton spent £60 million on a player? When was the last time any of those teams, barring the top 4 down, spent more than £60 million on a player?
If we would be at White Hart Lane still, Mark, would we have been able to spend 60 million on Dominic Solanke? No.
And Richarlison?
Would we have been able to get Ndombele? No. Would we have been able to get a few of the players that we did? No. So in a way, the stadium...
And Ndombele was when we were at the old White Hart Lane.
But it was moving, wasn't it? It was within the idea of we're going to make the money.
The point I'm making is the stadium has blatantly given us more money to spend. And we do spend more money. We just spend it on crap. Simple as that.
Agreed.
I'd say 8 times out of 10, it just don't go right. On the Ndombele one, he was one of the most wanted in Europe. You could blatantly see there was skill all over him. I know no one else went for him.
And Lo Celso, mate. The same thing.
But Ndombele was proper looked at. But other teams backed off him, basically, and we actually put the money on the table and got him. With Ndombele, we had a brilliant player there. Skill, everything. The thing that let him down was his mentality. He just did not care. Simple as that. And that's all it was. And even though a big fella, bit overweight, but as soon as he got the ball, he always knew what he was doing with it. He had a brilliant pass on him, had a good shot on him. He just didn't care about the game. He didn't have the mentality for it.
Wrong, right? It wasn't the ability of the footballer. It's
Never
that we
the
didn't
ability.
look into
He was a really
his
good player.
personality, his mentality.
Exactly.
I'm going to throw a
He was-
curveball. I'm going to throw a curveball to counter Mark's claim that the stadium wasn't a game changer. Now, again, devil's advocate. By Thursday night, we could be sitting and saying, well, since the new stadium, we've made 2 European finals in 6 years.
It says it all, doesn't it? Really.
I'm just I'm just saying. Listen.
No. I'm just. I'm agreeing with your point. I'm agreeing with your point. That's what I'm saying. Because you know what I mean. You're gone, Dan.
You've got to put some of this on the managers and the players. I mean, I'm one that despises Daniel Levy as well. Really don't like the fella, but I still say he's probably one of, if not the best businessman in football when you look what he's actually done for Tottenham. He has got us ranked in the top 10 clubs in the world. I know it goes by money and we shouldn't be there, but we are in the top 10 biggest clubs in the world. When he took over, we was basically nobody. We had some cups behind us. Yes, we did, but we was nobody, basically. And he has got us there purely on the aspect of money. You can't fault him what he's done there. Right, the amount of finals and semi-finals we've had, those ones you can put on the managers and those ones you can also put on the players. Harry Kane never showed up in a big game. And what I mean by a big game was a semi-final or a final. As soon as it came to a semi-final or a final, he was dead. He was done. He was never there. If anything, Son showed up for finals and semi-finals better than Harry Kane did.
Thank you for acknowledging Dan. That was right, saying he was a loser then before he got the pass.
And then
thank you for acknowledging me. Thank you for acknowledging me. Thank you for telling me that. Thank you for telling me that, Dan.
And even down to the point that for international games, when the shit hits the fan, Kane don't show up, or he goes and puts it over the crossbar and bottles it. It's things like that. And with managers making bad decisions, no way should Kane have started in that final, ever in that Champions League final. He was not ready. He started on merit, nothing more. Lucas Moura should have started there. And with things like that, decisions by managers, you can't just blame that on Daniel Levy. He don't control what goes on the pitch. He does not say, right, I want you two to play as inverted wing backs when you're blatantly not inverted wing backs. He doesn't make those decisions. Yes, there is a hell of a lot to blame on this club for Daniel Levy, but you've also got to look at it from the other side. There is always 2 sides, if not 3 or 4, to a story. And we have had our chances, and when it comes to the crunch, we have bottled it every single time, or just totally screwed it up with the wrong tactics. That one you got to put on managers. That one you got to put on players.
I think you can put it on both, and by that I mean I don't think Harry Kane or Heung-min Son will ever be a big game player, because I think you need a streak in you. So by that I mean Dele Alli was a big game player. You knew in a cup final, I think it was against Arsenal, running through on goal, amazing touch, chipping the keeper. The arrogance of the kid was to be like, I'm going to win this game. I don't care what anybody else says. I may mess up 2 or 3 times, but I'm going to get that final goal, the 4th or 5th. You know, that sort of player for me is the sort of player that wins you games. Kane and Son for me are too nice. I don't think like they're when the chips are down, I don't think they're prepared to pull their arms and sleeves up and have a fight or a tear up or turn it dirty. And that's where I think I can blame A, the manager for not being able to manage players like that and not request players like that, and B, not bringing them in. Whereas now, like you're saying, it's hard to disagree. I just think that Levy gets bashed a lot of the time with a lot of sticks. Sometimes it's not always his fault. It's just the easy route. In life, and I think it's a generation thing now as well. Is you'll always pick out the weakest link, and it's their fault. It's always their fault, rather than actually making your own mind up and getting all the facts first and going, yeah, that's the problem. It's a very quick. Oh, you said it's Levy's fault. Let's all jump on Levy's fault then. It's all Levy's fault, rather than actually look at the details yourself and make your own opinion.
I mean, with some of it as well.
A lot of it is Daniel Levy's fault.
But hang on, but Mark, we've got to be fair. We've got to be fair here, right? Like, this is why I brought up all these stats about how many finals and semis we've been in. And I think Danny makes a really good point. He's, you know, if these players are as good as we want to put these players on a pedestal, right? Everyone puts Son, Kane, Dembele, Ericsson, Alderweireld, and rightly so, because they were very, very good in the league, right? They would get into semis and to finals. But if we're going to put them on the pedestal, and then we put Poch on the pedestal, he's magic, you know, all of this. Then when you're in those moments, when you're in those finals, in those moments, that's where the players you put on the pedestals, right? That's where the Lionel Messi's, right? I know that's a stretch, but that's where the Didier Drogba's, look at Didier Drogba's in finals, right? They had that moment where they went, this isn't going our way. I'll do something. I'll take it upon myself. I agree. I think Harry Kane is too nice a footballer. I think he's a superb footballer. But for me,
throw Gareth Bale into that thing you just put as well.
But exactly, Gareth Bale in a big game would go, right, give me the ball. Give me the ball. I'm doing it, right? This is what Kane and Son didn't do, which is why for me, when people talk about them as greats, when people talk about them in the world-class category, I always put them in the little run below, because clutch moments, Aguero, clutch moment for Man City when they're about to lose a league title and a bit of magic from nothing. That's a clutch moment. That's world class. For me, we had the chances. They didn't deliver. Yeah. They delivered in North London derbies. They delivered against Chelsea. But when the pressure moment came, the pressure moment of a semi and a final, and the problem is Kane's done the exact same thing for England.
I was just about to say that, Sam.
Right? This isn't just Spurs.
In
an England game,
if you look at Munich as well,
the Croatia semi-final, I don't remember Kane playing. The Euros final against Italy, I don't remember him playing.
France.
The final against Spain, I don't remember Harry Kane playing.
The France game.
The France game.
Can I add something to that, though? The only thing I want to say and add to that is, for me, this is where I will blame Levy. And I'm sorry, Mark, but you're not going to like this part. Poch was never a winner. He was never one of the best managers out there because of that. For me, Jose Mourinho would have, if not won that final, we would have had a very good game and counted for ourselves. Conte, the same thing again. There's reasons why you have the big managers on big bucks, because when the chips are down, they make the subs. Wasn't it Mourinho after like 10 minutes took Dyer off in a Champions League game or something? Like when the moment's there,
2-0 down or something.
Yeah. But when the moment's there, even the coaches, and this is where I'll kind of maybe blame Pochettino, because when the moment's there and you've had 4 or 5 semi-finals, cup finals, I would put my life savings and my children on the fact that Mourinho wins one of them, Conte wins one of them, because he goes, no, boys, let's stop messing about. Let's stop fucking around. None of this nicey-nicey. We are winning this game. Whereas I can imagine Pochettino going in the background and going, come on, boys, let's give it our best. Let's see how we get on. Let's go. I think there's levels. And Pochettino's given me some of the greatest football I've seen at Tottenham Hotspur. But if you want to win and be that, you need to back the greats in Mourinho.
Reluctantly, James, I agree with you. I agree with you, James.
It's the same with managers.
One of you, all 4 of you are talking. Sorry, one of you. Sorry.
I don't really agree with Conte.
Well, you can't call Harry Kane a loser, and then you don't agree with Conte being a winner.
Well, I'm sorry. Yeah, but wait a minute here. Conte's the one that lost.
Think about it, mate.
No. Don't do that, James, because you just said something silly. No, you did something silly there. What did Conte do in the Europa Conference League? Sorry. What did he do in the FA Cup?
And what has Conte done in his career?
I'm not talking about the other times, but at Tottenham.
No, Alex, you can't just pick out one little bit when it suits you. Look at the whole career.
No,
you cannot tell me Conte is not a world-class manager.
Tottenham? No, but what about at Tottenham, right? We can say it about Conte. We can say about Mourinho.
You can say it about every manager then that come to Spurs. Then you
Wasn't Conte starting 11 like Royale, Davis, and Dyer at the back?
Come on, Alex, man. Bro, if you're telling me he's a winner, bro, he wins against he wins against those teams.
Listen, he's a winner, but he's not a miracle worker. Come on, he's a winner, but he's not a miracle worker. Yeah, that fraud at centre back.
Okay, Mourinho, I can agree with that.
I agree with you what you said about Poch. reluctantly.
Yeah, I agree with you about Mourinho because he never got that final. Yeah, and he could have done something better. I think he could have won it against Guardiola. He could have done it. But Conte
anyone could.
had 2 chances to win a trophy. He mucked up against Middlesbrough and he mucked up against in the Conference League. When
there was a lot of a bigger picture there, though, Alex. There was a lot bigger picture in that, and in that I mean the guy. Well, listen to the facts and stats, mate. The guy asked for Bastoni and players like that, and he got
here we go.
Joe Rodon.
Savva,
he got Joe Rodon.
Savva, here we go again.
Sanchez.
Bastoni now.
Yeah.
Here we go again. Go again.
I think there's levels. I think again there's a difference, right? I agree with both of you here. First of all, people have got to get over this Bastoni thing. He was never, ever,
just an example.
I know as an example. But at the same time, there's got to be a level in between Bastoni and Joe Rodon. There's got to be that level in there that we look at, right? And this is where, at the moment, right now on Sky Sports on the screen, actually I've lied, it was about 30 seconds ago, it's just gone. They've just put up the defensive stats and clearances and tackles this year for Murillo and Milenkovic at Forest. For me, that's what you want to be buying, right? Not Joe Rodon. Bastoni, great if you can get Bastoni, but let's be fair, he's an Inter Milan boy, one of the best teams in the world, top managers. There's no chance you're leaving to come and join Tottenham Hotspur, right? Just as it is, right? But I kind of agree. I agree with what you said about Poch. Poch isn't a natural born winner. I think Poch is a great coach. I don't think he's got that instinct to go, you know what? Like at 1-0 down, James, 1-0 down after the Sissoko handball. We can bitch and moan and cry about whether it was or wasn't. It happened, right? After that minute, he's now got 90 to 95 minutes to change this game. Mm-hmm. This is where you earn your coolness as a manager, right? Mm-hmm. And we did nothing. I don't remember Spurs really doing anything in the entire game. We had a few chances, but nothing amazing. Conte, Alex, you can't turn around and say Conte isn't a winner just because he had a bad.
No, I'm not saying he wasn't.
Spurs.
I didn't mean it like that. Let me just correct you.
No, hang on.
I said. No, because you said I didn't say he's not a winner. I didn't say he's not a winner.
Hang on.
This
guy is about to win Serie A, right? For Napoli, who were terrible last season. This guy won trophies with Chelsea. This guy won trophies with Inter Milan, right? There are levels to this. There are levels. If I said to you, who do you want managing a one-off Europa League final? Do you want it to be Ange Postecoglou or Antonio Conte?
Yeah, but I'm not saying he's not a winner. I'm not saying he's not a winner, but he didn't win at Tottenham, and he didn't do well.
That's literally what you just said.
No.
Let Alex go.
Let me say this, right? He didn't do. He should have done better in the FA Cup when he got beaten by Middlesbrough, and in the Conference League. Where let's be honest here, we should have done much better. I think we got beaten by a really bad team. I can't remember who it was now, right, at the top of my head, right? So for me, he didn't put himself in glory in those competitions when he should have really done better in those competitions. Yes, there were extenuating circumstances because of things that season. There was a lot of things going. No, but I think it was last season, wasn't it? It was his first season, wasn't it? I think it was.
It was the COVID, wasn't it?
Yeah,
we got chucked out the conference because we couldn't play our last game.
Yeah, last game or something like that. Yeah, I think it was. Yeah. So yeah, I think that was quite embarrassing, that one. And then the Middlesbrough defeat in the FA Cup, that was embarrassing as well. So he could have done better in those competitions. Yes, he did get Champions League. To be fair to him, yes, with not a great squad. Yes, okay, fair enough. But yeah. For me, that was the only blemish I would say. That's it. But no doubt, he's a winner. He is a winner. Yes,
he's a world-class manager, and
he's a world-class manager. There's no doubt about it. No,
he just wasn't the right time for. I've said this all along about Antonio Conte. I know everyone says, "Oh, you didn't want him at Spurs." I didn't want him at Spurs because I could see that what happened. I said when he signed, that will happen. Him and Levy will come to loggerheads because Antonio Conte wants X, Y, Z. He's never going to be given it at Tottenham. And Antonio Conte, right? People go, we shouldn't have sacked him. One, he wasn't sacked, right?
He left.
Two, who actually thought that Conte was going to be here for, and forgive me, a project? When has
I'll be honest
Antonio
with you,
Conte ever
he's
gone
not
to
a
a club and
project.
gone, I fancy a 5-year project? Like, our
I'll
fans,
be honest,
honestly,
Savva.
we don't.
I'll be honest with you, right? I don't think when Conte come in, I don't think he ever wanted to be here.
I agree.
He came in for the money.
He didn't
That
want to
was
be.
one of
He
my
came for the
points,
money, yes, but
people.
he did not want to be here.
Okay, fine, Mark. But this is my point with a few things. You slam that money on that table, you got a lot more of a chance. People
Of
start
course.
looking. Yeah. Again, I believe there's a lot of
Not Bastoni, though.
significantly better players. Okay, but I think there's a lot of players out there that you would say are maybe higher than Spurs standards, that if you put that money down on that table, money talks. But we don't know their
We talked about this
personality.
last night. It's too simplistic. Everyone's putting money
No.
down on the table for players.
Yeah,
And
yes,
there is,
I'm
but
saying
there's got to
when you
be.
put higher-
Hang on, let me
sec.
finish my sentence, right? Everyone's putting money down for players. But when you're talking about going to Inter Milan, taking an Inter Milan boy, he's born there, and saying, we want you to leave Inter Milan to come and join Tottenham, who are a bit of a shambles. Doesn't matter if you say he's 300 grand a week. He's at Inter Milan. We've got to be honest about
But
this.
yeah. But
The
what
chances
I'd
of
add to
getting
that
him
is
won't-
if a winner comes in, if a winner comes in and a great comes in and they have his style, he's not going to come in and go, right, yeah, I'll take Joe Rodon first of all. If it was me, in my opinion, I'd come in and say, listen, you want to win? I want Bastoni. I want Lionel Messi. And then I'll wait for them to come back to me and say, you know what? We can't do that because of X, Y, Z. How about we have a look at the next guy down?
That's
And
the
that
point,
is
James.
where...
That's the point. Spurs inquired about Bastoni, and his agent has told us what we needed to know. He doesn't want to join Tottenham, and our fans are going, money talks. The boy don't want to leave. The boy,
No,
Savva,
but I think there's within reason. I think what Dan was saying was within reason. You're not going to get the best of the best. But if you was to say, like Edison from Atalanta, Edison for Atalanta would come if we paid him the right amount of money. I think there's enough pull there to do that with the right manager.
It depends. You're right. It depends on who the manager is and what we've got going on next year. Because
obviously,
you've got to remember, right? If we don't win this Europa League next year, we're not in Europe, right? We won't have a lot of money to spend, right? And we're sitting there going, Edison, come and join Spurs. It's going to go.
That's not happening then. Yeah,
right?
That's not happening then.
Now, if we do win the Europa League, we can go to Edison at Atalanta, and I agree. That's I don't use the word easy lightly. That's easier than a Bastoni. However, you've got to remember, at the same time, there will be other clubs that will be alerted to Edison's availability in the market, and there will be bigger clubs than Tottenham. Now, this is where you can put whatever money you want in front of them. Players will join the bigger club. That is, everyone does it every season. The players will pick the bigger club over Spurs. Now, when that won't be a factor is when Spurs were sitting second, and this is where I do agree with Mark, when we were sitting second and third, and we did have a good team, that's where you go to teams and go, well, we're in Champions League every year. We've got Harry Kane in his prime. Eriksen's in his prime. Look at our back four. We want you to take us to the next level. But that's doing it from a position of strength. At the moment, we'd be asking these players to join us from a position of weakness. So what I think Spurs need to do, and I've said this all year, forget your Bastonis, forget your Edisons, forget all of these types of players. Spurs need to go and buy ready-made senior pros with the right ethic, right, that can get us to the next level, which at the moment is just getting back into Europe via the league. Get back into Europe, have some unity, have a good manager that hasn't embarrassed us in the press and the media. Then you can go to these players and go, look what we've built in the last year or two with X, Y, and Z manager. Look at these senior players we're bringing in. We want you now to be the icing on the cake. But we're doing it from a position of weakness. We're doing it from a position of, we've got Solanke up front. You've got Brennan Johnson on the wing. You've got Archie Gray. You've got, do you see what I mean? we've got
the other
no
point of it
leverage.
is, but the other point of it is, I don't care what you or anybody tells me. The fact in this world is money talks.
No.
Saudi Arabia is your prime, yeah? How many players have gone over there purely for one thing and one thing only when they could have gone to bigger clubs in the
Dan,
world?
when you say that, you're
What
talking
I'm saying
different
is,
levels of money. You're talking.
let me finish. James, let me finish.
Yeah.
Yeah. I ain't saying that we go for Bastonis or world-class players. It's not going to happen. I'm saying we should try to get significantly better players than what we do.
No one disagrees with that.
Because if we went for, just example, Edison, we get into the Champions League, we get Edison. If you want to be realistic, we go for a bid for him. Other clubs are going to bid for him as well, yeah? I would expect that. You would think that as well. But then neither of us could say for a fact that another club would go out there and do it, because they might actually not need someone in that position and need a striker more. We don't know. So we've got to at least try for it, put the money on the table, is my opinion, yeah?
Sure,
but
but as we talked about last
there's
night,
a good chance.
As we talked about last night, you don't just put money on the table. The player has to have the player has to have the interest. I'm so bored of this saying.
Then again, if you let me finish, money on the table doesn't just mean slam the money on the table for the bid. Money on the table for me means in general, as a whole. Okay, I do it the way you was going on about last night. I get in contact with his coach, whatever you want to call him, yeah? Right, we're interested in Edison. Yeah, I don't think Edison would be that interested in you. Right, there's 220 grand a week. Now tell him we're interested. Now,
I don't think you understand footballers' mindset, man. That's the problem. I don't think you get it.
So are you telling me that, okay, I call the coach and I tell him we're interested, and he says, I don't think Edison would be that interested. We go and put, 200 grand on the table. You don't know if that's not going to turn his eye or not. You don't know what his personality is like.
Sure.
Can I add something to this?
Hang on. Sure. Some players, yes. Right?
Yeah.
But you've got to remember, some players
I'm just giving an example with Edison.
Some players are paid very well already. Some players are very much about their career, right? Which is surely the mentality of the player you want. So what we're doing is advocating going and buying more and Ndombeles with players with a poor mentality. Now, if we go to Edison, we're just using this guy as the example. I can't use Matty K's example of Kimmich. It's just ridiculous, right?
No. Edison ain't a bad example.
If we go to Edison, right? If we go to Edison, first and foremost, with this money down on the table, cool. We're not talking about bids. We're talking about what money we would give him. But the first thing that would happen would be, right, Edison's agent, the intermediaries, all of his representatives. We are interested in Edison. What are you saying, right? I'm getting the basic breakdown. They're going to have to put that to Edison and say, do you know what? Tottenham Hotspur want you from the Premier League. Are you interested? Now, Edison's either going to have a three opinions, right? It's either going to be a flat out yes, a flat out no, or a, okay, I'll play along, right? That type of vibe. I'll play along. Let's see. At the same time, the first thing that's going to happen is Edison's agent, right? This is where the world of agents that football fans don't seem to understand and just think it's as simple as buying a car. Edison's agent, do you know the very first thing Edison's agent's going to do when he gets off the phone?
Make a few phone calls.
To who?
To whoever, to whoever he wants to say he's free. Right.
Edison's
my
agent
is...
Hang on. Let me finish. Edison's agent's going to be going, right, I'm going out in the market. If Tottenham want him, I can get better offers. Right? That's not just about Spurs, by the way. That's going to be about any club that goes for any player. So the first thing they're going to do is go, okay, well, we're he either does want to join us. I don't think he would say outright yes. I think it would be very much, I'm not knocking it off the table, but agent, see you can get me that's better. And I think the moment Edison's agent starts putting the feelers out there, that Bayern Munich's, that I don't even need to go that big. Bigger clubs that are in a better position with better managers, better structures, right, will start talking to Edison's agent about the player. That's the problem we've got. Now, you might get opportunistic moments when no one wants the player. I guarantee you with a player like Edison, his agent turns around and starts making phone calls to his agent network. Within 24, 48 hours, you're going to have clubs going, Edison's available. Yeah, let's make.
I
Can
agree
I
with
add
what you're
something to
saying,
this, though?
but if you don't at least try for it, you're never going to get it.
I
That is the whole
agree, but
point I
I'm
made.
going past, Dan, I'm going past this very basic. Yes, I've said that. Try. Ring his agent, cool. But
If we get
from
told
that,
not happening, then we just take it from there. That's all we can do in that aspect.
Can I add something to
but
this?
Dan, that will be happening every day with every player and every club in the world. Agents' phones go. Have you seen agents and on their? It is like Paratici on his phone. Boom, 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 boom. Every day. I'm not saying don't try and get an Edison. What I'm saying is Spurs need to be realistic where we are right now. And Edison being talked about as in a position where there's not many of them in the world as a very good box-to-box DM type player is going to be sought after. For me,
I would think
this
so.
needs to be more about clever scouting rather than just saying there's 230,000. You don't. Manu Kone, Dan, we agree on this. Manu Kone, 18 million euros from Borussia Mönchengladbach. Yeah, Mönchengladbach to Roma. 75, 80 grand a week. That's where I'm going. That's the call. That's the call to that agent.
But
Get
even
Manu
on that
Kone
aspect, that's what I'm saying with things like that, even, yeah. Edison was just nothing but an example, yeah. And I don't think it's something that's impossible. And I still think there's plenty of players out there that you offer them 100 grand more, they'll turn their blind eye to the slightly bigger club, not necessarily a Man City or an Inter Milan or whatever else, or Bayern Munich, but I think there's plenty of people out there who turn their eye to a significant bigger wages. But that's
sure,
just
but
personal
Dan, why would
opinion.
Spurs offer 100? If the other big, let's use your example.
But on what?
Let's use your example that you've just used there. This is where it doesn't make sense, and I don't get where you're coming from. If said bigger club are coming in at the same time for a player as Spurs, why are they offering 100 grand less a week than Tottenham?
Don't ask me. They might not think he's worth that money.
Can I add? Yeah, can I add a bit?
The bigger clubs do. The bigger clubs whack out the salary. So I don't.
But I
don't
didn't say the clubs like Bayern Munich and that. I said slightly bigger clubs or clubs on the same scale, basically. Yeah. You slam more money down on that table, you have more of a chance. Is basically what I'm saying. And wages is one thing we do not do.
Transfers, man. This is mad.
Right, so you're telling me wages have nothing to do with football? You're telling me no one has ever gone to a club purely for wages?
I'm not saying they haven't, but Dan, if we're talking about
so if we pay better wages, we could possibly get better players.
I agree, but if we're talking about going and buying better footballers, other clubs are going to want those better footballers as well and be able to pay what we can and some. This is the point. This is the point. You can't just turn around and think that every footballer is going to move. Just
I never said
every footballer is just going to go right. Let's use a club across Europe who are probably the same level as us. It's really difficult because I don't even know what we are anymore. Right? Let's use
Plymouth.
Let's use I'm just trying to think. I don't even know what level we are anymore in the world, guys. Let's use
the problem with level, Savva, quickly, is if you want to put us on level with a club, to an extent, you go Dortmund, yeah? But if you go by size of club and money, Dortmund don't even tickle our ass. And that's all there is to it.
I'm not saying that.
It's hard to actually level that
I'm not saying that, but the difference between us and a Dortmund is Dortmund actually scout properly. They don't need to do what you're suggesting we do. Right?
But they have to for the money because they ain't got it.
The problem is, as I've said this a million times before, right? I've seen this firsthand, speaking to agents and intermediaries from when I've worked in football. Yeah, what you're saying is a very basic thing. Now it works. It works when we're talking about Saudi Arabia offering 750 grand a week, life-changing. When we're talking about, do I want to go to Spurs or do I want to go to, let's use a club in our league. Do I want to go to Spurs or do I want to go to Aston Villa, right? If we're just going to put those two together, they're going to look at a lot of other things other than the salary. One, they're going to say, well, Villa can pay whatever salary Spurs do. Two, what trajectory are the club heading into? Three, who is the manager? Four, let me look around at the squad. Because your theory would suggest that players don't look at squads. Players,
that's never what I said.
will, no, but this theory of just pay them more. If I'm a player, right, and Villa come in for me right now, or Spurs do, I'm going to look at both squads. I'm going to look at the managers and go, all right, Spurs are going to give me 50 grand a week more. But they've got Unai Emery. They've got this squad. They're buying better players. They're showing ambition. I am not going there. That's a shit show.
Okay, fine.
Can I add
That's
to
your
this?
choice.
Can I add my point?
But there are
That's
players
what
out
most players
there.
would do, Danny.
But okay, you just said it. Most, not all. If we put more money down on that table for wages, I think we get significantly better players. Personal opinion, and that's all.
No one's saying we don't. I'm just saying
that's all I've been saying the
they've
whole
got
time.
the same options elsewhere. That's where we struggle because we don't have Paul.
But
We've
how
got
many times
nothing
have
right
we had
now
players?
that's attractive.
How many times have we had players on that doorstep, basically, that if we'd have just paid extra wages, we could have snapped them up before Liverpool and City?
I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that. But
That's
but
all
Dan,
I'm saying.
As I said to you last night, you've got to, and this is what Percy was trying to say to you last night, you've got to get to that stage. You've got to get to that stage where the player is interested enough and Daniel Levy's going to offer the weight. There's 10 steps in between the phone call to the agent.
I know that.
And Daniel Levy going, here's our final offer for a transfer fee and salary. You've got to get the player there.
I know that, but how many times have we got a player there and not given him the wages he wanted and he's gone elsewhere?
Sure, but we can name a handful,
this
right?
Is all, yeah, but that's all right. And a handful that would have made us a significantly better team. As all I am saying to you, I know how the system works, but I think you're just missing the main point I'm making. And that is if we slam our wage budget up, we could get significantly better players.
I've not, but Dan, you keep saying I've missed that. I don't disagree that our wage budget needs to go up. But you're missing the point. The better players that we go for, like what I said with an Edison, will have clubs that have more than just money.
I'm not saying otherwise.
The whole theory you're basing this on is purely money. At the moment, tell me what's attractive for a player to come to Spurs.
Right, okay. Let's change it round a sec. Yeah.
Can I add my bit to it? Because I think I can add a good thing.
I'll say my last bit, James, and then I'll back down from it, yeah? Because I just keep saying the same thing. We put our wage budget up, bigger players will take a look at it, sort of thing, yeah? Right, we finished 17th, right? But we win that Europa and get in the Champions League. We then have Levy, sack Ange straight away, sack the rest of the staff straight away, get the coaching room out, which me and you have both agreed looks like what could be happening here.
Agreed.
Right. Then we go to a slightly bigger player than we would usually go for. I ain't saying world class. Edison was just an example, like you said, yeah? Maybe a stage below Edison. And that is not a bad player either, because for me, Edison is up there very, very good, yeah? But we go with a better player than Archie Bloody Gray for 40 million. Or something like that. Or we go for better things than what we have done in the past and say, right, we screwed up big time last season because of our manager. Right, we can give you consistent games in that team from day one because you are better than any of the midfield that we've got there already.
Agree.
We are willing to pay 50, 60, 70 grand more on what you're already getting paid. We're in the Champions League. We've got a brand new manager. We're starting this shit again and putting it back together, and I want you to be a major part of it. Surely that's got to have some sort of pull on it as well. Obviously, if Chelsea come in or Bayern Munich come in and then slam the money on the table.
That's my only point. Before I let James come in, that's my only point. I agree with you in theory. Right? I'll meet you in the middle. I agree with you. If we do all that, if we do all that and go to this player and go, we're doing this, fine. But the problem you've got is, like you just said there, if a Chelsea comes in, if a Villa comes in, if a Newcastle, if these clubs come in that are doing that and have shown that they're competing and have shown that they've got a top manager and have shown that this isn't a one-off. With Spurs, it's all theory. Here's what we want to do. These other clubs can say, here's what we are doing. Right? That's the only thing I'm saying. So I'm not saying yes, you are right. You pay more wages, you get better players in theory. But at the moment, we're doing it from a position of weakness. We're doing it, as I said, the example I gave to you last night. If Spurs rock up, and I know Ange might not be here, if Spurs rock up right now to Edison and Villa do, if you're Edison, be honest with me, Dan, even if we offer 50 grand a week more, who are you going to? Villa with Unai Emery and the level of players they're buying and their director of football and how they've been the last 3 years, or are you going to join Tottenham and Ange?
Well, with Ange there, I definitely ain't going there. But if I look at Spurs and see, this is where we see football from different sides. Now, if I look on it from what I could use, right, I'm fighting left, right, and centre to get in Villa's team, or I'm walking into Spurs' team, have a good season there or two as my stepping stone, and then I'm going to go to a Bayern Munich or to a Man City or to a whatever. The point I'm making is not all players think the same.
Of course.
Players look at it in different ways. If you think on it in a logical way,
then
you're 100%. I don't give a shit whether he... let me answer then. I don't care if he wants money.
But this is where you're
I don't care what he does. No, I say this every time. I do not care what the player wants. I do not care what he does off the pitch. I couldn't give a monkeys about him in a lot of ways. As long as he performs on the pitch, that's all I actually care about. So whether his attitude is it's just a job...
hand in hand.
Well, it works with Ben White at Arsenal. He blatantly says he don't even like football and it's just a job, and he still gets in the first team and still plays good football.
Well, he doesn't, but this is the thing, right? This is the thing.
I'm just saying I want him to play good football. I don't care about the rest.
I'll let James come in. I'll let James come in. But if we're talking about mentality, I love this now. We've gone from, we got it wrong with Ndombele because of mentality, but just go and get players that care about money more than the club they're going to and winning.
No, mentality. He didn't even want to play football. As long as they want to do their job properly, whether it's a job or whether they want, I don't care. As long as they perform and do their job properly. He didn't give a toss about the job. His mentality was totally out of it. If you're just a job's worth, doing it for a job's worth and getting paid, you do the job. I don't care whether you love the club or football.
I agreed. This is why I said, please never work in football. The mentality, this is the Spursy mentality. We don't care. I want players that want to be here. You've got to have players that want to be there for the right reasons. And this is why, if you're just going to go and get mercenaries, look at all the players that have gone out to Saudi when we say that money talks. Look at the state of that. Look at the state of that. Look at those players. They've ruined their careers.
Well, they're all at the end of their career as well, aren't they?
Well, no. But this is the thing. No, they're not. People like
John.
Can
I add my point? Can I add my point now? So on that, I disagree with Dan at the end, that end part, because Christian Romero for me is a top defender, top defender. Doesn't want to be at the club, still getting 4 out of 10s every week. So there, for me, it doesn't matter who you're bringing in on the money, because proof in the pudding is, I think he's a top defender. And yet, because he's not happy and he doesn't want to be there, we're getting a bang average mid defender in place for that kind of thing. So for me, the player has to want to be there first and foremost, and if they don't, they shouldn't be there. Yeah. But I agree with both of you. It's kind of both arguing the same sort of thing, but different ways around it. For me, Edison's probably out of our league, but what we could do is go for someone like Wharton, Adam Wharton. He's in our league and probably got the eye of the Uniteds and the so-called bigger people. But if our chairman is serious about getting, for example, Adam Wharton, and he's going to be our number 6 from now on, he goes out to them and says, look, you value him at 35 million. I'm going to give you 42 million pounds. I want this signed, sealed, done today, tomorrow. If you want, Adam Wharton wants 50,000, I'll give him 55 plus bonuses, blah, 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 blah. I think there's so much to it. And definitely the finances side of things is definitely going to have a positive impact, because you're going to say, oh, God, I was only open for 50 and I'm offering 55 or blah, blah, blah. But none of that is relevant, in my opinion, unless you are slapping down hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pounds more like Saudi are and teams like that. And even the likes of Aston Villa, they are shopping way above their budget at the moment, or they was, until they got Champions League and stuff. So it's a risk you have to take where you blow a load of money before you realise to get to the top. And a lot of clubs have done that and failed. QPR, didn't QPR come out, shop above their budget, failed? Ipswich shopped above their budget, failed. Now, when they go down, Leeds, when they go down, they are going to be in massive trouble, because A, they've got players to pay for they can't afford it. And So I don't think any of you are wrong. I think if you sat down at the table with Adam Wharton and Daniel Levy was serious about signing Adam Wharton, he says, look, you value him at 50. If we can get this deal done today, tomorrow, I'll give you 55 million. I want it signed, sealed up. Don't say anything to anybody. Here's what he won in wages. This is blah, 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 blah. And I think you can have it all signed up. And the money does play a huge factor in that. But it don't play the only factor in it. And I think that's where you probably kind of, I think
I'm not saying only factor,
and I think that's where Savva was kind of looking into it a bit more than what Dan was, because at the end, Dan said, look, they all have to be interested.
Sensible, James. James, it comes down to, it can't be one or two players. It comes down to being sensible, right? Because the problem is, you know, if you're going to start a revolution with getting a lot of players that are paid 300 grand a week, the first thing, these players are winners. The players we're talking about are winners, right? The first thing they're going to do is ask, well, who else you buying, right?
Yeah, but Edison was just an example. It was just an example. So that's why I changed it to Adam Wharton, because
I understand that. But James, my point is this. These players, right, will ask, who else you buying? What's the plan, right? It won't just be, oh, I'll come and join Spurs because you're giving me 300 grand a week. If any player, let me put it this way. If any player out there is sitting and talking to Spurs and we're talking about 200,000 plus a week, then they're a good footballer that knows they can command that in the market, right? So they're going to be looking and going, okay, what am I joining for? Now you've got to look at the age of the player. Am I joining for a project? I'm an older player. Well, I don't want to join there because you're miles away from actually competing and building a team. The first thing these players are going to want to know is who else you're signing? Who else are your targets? What's happening? And this, for me at Tottenham, this is the thing. We've done this so badly now that we're doing this from a position of weakness. We're doing this. We need to pick up the Whartons when they're not the Wharton that's now played for 18 months at Crystal Palace. Because Adam Wharton at Crystal Palace, we say we should be able to go and get him. Crystal Palace will turn around and go, we want 80, 85 million. They have no need to sell. They're not in financial trouble. We're not going to get him unless you whack down huge money. Same way people in my stream yesterday, James, were saying, just go and get Morgan Rogers from Villa. Why? Why is Morgan Rogers from Aston Villa, who's been there 18 months, going to turn around and go, I want to leave a club that is on the up and up and up with a great manager who has got me into the England squad, made me his first choice player. I'm going to leave to go to Spurs.
But in fairness,
and it falls into my point.
They're the sort of player. They're the sort of fans that live in bubbles, aren't they? I think we're all here sort of speaking from a
we've got
realistic.
But this falls into my point though.
From us as our sort of fans, I think that's where we all go on shows together and debate each other, because I feel like we all. I mean, Alex's opinions are a bit wayward, but we'll.
No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not.
I'm joking. I'm joking. But for me,
he's winding you up, Alex.
For me, it is one of those things where I think when you actually have a genuine football conversation with a genuine football person, you can have that debate. Me and Dan have done it loads of times where he's gone, I think this is good, and I've disagreed, and at the end you kind of go, oh, fair, yeah, I get it. Whereas some people, when they're saying just go and get Morgan Rogers, you go, oh yeah, Champions League, Villa, like it's not as easy as that. So for me. Again, people like Wharton, I do believe that is our shopping window. Maybe a top end, but that's where you rely on your chairman and your Fabio Paraticis to get that sort of stuff done. There's enough pull to get someone like that out of Palace. If you're serious about moving forward.
Do you think there is? Do you think we could get Wharton?
Absolutely,
no.
Yeah. Because
how much do you think Crystal Palace are going to charge for Wharton?
But that's a different conversation. That's that. I'm not talking about that.
No, it's all wrapped in. If you're saying we can get him, how much is he going to cost?
Us as a club, in my opinion, can afford Adam Wharton. It's whether the owners and stuff want to spend it. So for me, if I was selling it to, say, for example, we're going to go for an Adam Wharton, I'd say, right, mate, you're going to be our number 6 from now on. We're getting rid of Ange. We're going to go for blah 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 blah. We want a number 6 to sit back of the line. We're also looking at signing what's the winger from PSV? The young Bakayoko. We could say, look, we're also going to try and absolute most, and we're going to put XY down for it. Bakayoko, blah 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 blah. I think if you're selling a picture and then actually put all those pictures together, that's how you get a Pochettino or a Pochettino team. Sorry,
but let me bring this back to basic terms. This is the problem. Football fans talk like it's Football Manager, right? Would Adam Wharton swap Crystal Palace for Spurs? Probably.
Yes.
Probably yes. Now, let's look at all of the other details that football fans very conveniently forget. Spurs are going to rock up to Parish at Crystal Palace, and or they're going to go to the agent and, yeah, we're interested, blah, blah, blah. Right. What do you think? What do you think Crystal Palace will want for him? Because we'll pay his wages. That won't be a problem.
They'll pay. Well, they'll pay about 80 or
Boys,
something.
I've got to shoot. I've just looked at the time. I've got to shoot.
2-hour dinner break again.
Take care.
See you later, James. So now we're in a position where we know the player coming to Tottenham wouldn't be an issue. You've now got a massive issue that Crystal Palace have no need to sell the footballer. Crystal Palace have put their own money in. They're going to turn around. What did they pay? 20 million for him? I don't know. I'm making it out of 20 million, something like that.
20 million, I think.
Crystal Palace are going to turn around and go, you want Adam Wharton, we want 80 million. Tottenham don't do that, right? You're not going to pay 80 million for an Adam Wharton, because that's the player that 18 months ago you get for 20 million if you scout properly.
That's what we do these days.
Right. But my point is this. So when fans are going, just go and get this player, right? Just go and get this player. You're going to have to pay 75, 80 million to get Wharton out. He's now an England international that has shown himself over the last year and a half that he's going to be a very good midfielder. Now, let's say Spurs, by hook or crook, go and spend 75, 80 million on Adam Wharton, which is laughable in itself, right? It's laughable. That's not what we're going to do. Now, who else you buying? Where's your money gone? Where's your money? You've just spent 80 million of your transfer budget on Adam Wharton. It's like we're not thinking about these things. We're not thinking about them.
Well, that will be more or less our transfer budget.
Can I add to your point? Can I just add to your point? Because it's just added to my point. Because some recent news about what the Spurs, right, are saying that there is staggering unpaid debts of transfers of 279 million. So
just like every other club, Alex.
Yeah,
well,
no, every club,
I'm just saying this is in the news. This is in the news. I'm trying to add to your point here. I'm trying to help you out here. I'm saying to you, like this is what I'm saying. You know what I mean? It's saying this right now that we're and we've got to sell. We've got to have to sell. You know what I mean? So regardless of what we do in the Europa League, I don't know what's going to happen. I think we have money from the Europa League. Yes, possibly. I don't know, but
it's not a lot.
But what I'm saying is, it might not change. It might not make us, giving us more money to help us, get bigger players. You know what I mean?
Other thing on the players' side,
owing money.
You don't get a lot from the Europa League.
Yeah,
owing money is not a problem. All this would do, it would be the same as any other transfer. It's
like a mortgage.
Hypothetical. Hypothetical. Palace wants 75 million from Spurs. They would agree. All right, we'll give you 20 million up front, and then But that figure still has to come off as Spurs now owe 75 million pounds in money. You can't just go, oh well, it's only 25 million of our budget, because that money has to come from somewhere, right? Exactly. Further down the line. The problem you've got is at Spurs, if we go and do this that fans want to do, right? You got Wharton at 75 million, just as this example. You now still got to go and buy a centre forward. You need another defender, depending if Romero leaves. You probably need another winger. You need now all of a sudden you're asking Spurs to spend this massive money, right? That we know we don't do, right? So for me, this is the complete arse about face way of how we get players. We've missed the boat with Morgan Rogers. We've missed the boat with Adam Wharton. Yeah, we've missed the boat with Manu Kone, for example, who we both like, Dan.
We need better scouts.
This is the problem for me. More than actually going down and talking about whacking down massive money, we need a scouting system in place where we turn around and go, right, we're buying Adam Wharton 2 years ago, and he's going to be the successor to Bentancur in 2 years. That's where we should be as a club. But what we're doing is we're picking all these other clubs that have signed brilliant players. And then we go, they'll join Spurs. And this Morgan Rogers thing, guys, gets me massively. We have Spurs fans that truly believe that if we rocked up to Morgan Rogers right now, who's an England international, playing for a coach like Emery at a club like Villa, who have done that for 4 years, that he's going to go, yeah, actually, I'll jump ship and join Tottenham. I don't know what world we're living in with our fans.
Let's face it, right?
What world we're living in.
Let's face it, we need a scouting team like Brighton's.
Yeah,
But
completely.
we've always said
Like
this,
Brighton.
though, Mark. We've
I
always
know.
said this, Mark. It's
I know,
just-
but I'm
I
saying-
I go
Oh,
out
I
my
won't
mind.
bother saying anymore.
No,
All right.
I
All
get what you're saying, Mark. But it's
Jesus.
just like I get to a point where I just think we always say this. We need this. We need that. We need this. We're never gonna do it. We're never gonna do
No,
it.
but but Alex, this is where the club or the chairman has let the club down.
Yeah, but this is where we need to be smarter as well. I totally agree on the scouting side, yeah, because we ain't going to get 80 million players, whatever. I totally
No.
understand that, yeah. But my point is, if we paid higher wages, there's players we could have got. My prime example here is Maddison. And I had this debate with you on day one, first time I met you, Savva, and you said he will not come Spurs, he would go Newcastle. And so did everybody else. Newcastle was in a significantly better position with better pulling power than Spurs. He chose Spurs. Why? Because of a personal reason. His wife wanted London and so did he. So it can happen. Chances,
Sure.
yes, I get it. But things do happen, yeah? And all I am getting at is if we put bigger money on the table, wages-wise, I think we can get significantly better players than what we
I
actually
don't disagree.
do.
I
Because
don't disagree.
that is the only point I'm ever making. I know it goes a lot deeper than that and everything else. And then there's the mentality of the player. And then there's the other pulling power of clubs and whatever. But there has been plenty of times that if we would have just put that extra wages on the table and not even stupid
Don't
wages,
disagree.
we could have had better players. That is the only point I make out of all this. And that is something Spurs don't do.
I don't disagree.
Is
Can we look at one
paying
factor? Dan?
money? Paying money is one thing we are not too bad at. Paying wages, we are awful at it.
Can I just put one factor on the table that I think we do forget as well? When Tottenham Hotspur go out to, let's use as an example, Edison, because we've used him the whole show.
Mm-hmm.
If Spurs go out to Edison and say, we're going to give you 250 grand a week, you've got to think of the knock-on effect to the rest of the squad that will have clauses in their contract.
Yeah.
I don't think we think about that enough, right? That's what Daniel Levy will think about. There will be many players in there that will have clauses saying if Spurs get a player over this salary, their salary matches it, or their salary gets doubled, or their salary gets 20%. So when you just go out and slam the money down, as we say, you're not just slamming the money down on that player, you're slamming a lot of extra wages down on your current squad. That's how football works.
Yes.
That's facts. That's
But
not
now
opinion. That's facts.
Yes, but now let's look on it on a Levy side, yeah? How many players at Spurs do you think have got that written in their contract that if we go and get a player who we pay him significantly more wages, you're entitled to the same wages as well?
It's not just about the same wages, Dan. They'll all have, you've got to remember, when these players have their contract negotiations, the reason why we all go, oh, come on, why is it taking so long? Their agent is going over 50, 60 different bullet points. One of them will be, let's just say, for example, so-and-so signs. John Smith signs on 100 grand a week, right? John Smith's agent's going to say, okay, we want a clause that if we win the Europa League, my player goes to 125. If you sign another player for 100 grand a week, my player goes up to 125. They'll all have these different little clauses that all massively add up.
I get
massively
you.
add up.
How many players at Spurs do you think have actually that Levy's given that clause in his contract?
Many.
That if we pay excess, really? I'm sorry, I disagree with that.
Dan,
I don't think he's bought many. What do you reckon? Odebert's got that in his contract.
Odebert will have
some in his contract.
You're not listening to what I'm saying, Dan. You're doing this.
They all have little add-ons. They all have little twisty bits.
All have something. These agents are super brainy and bright, right?
I get that, but
They
my point is,
all
I very
have-
much doubt. Little bits maybe, but I am not agreeing with you on the fact that Archie Gray has got it on his contract. If we go and slam 200,000 wages, then he's entitled to 100,000 or 200,000 wages. I ain't having that. Nor with Bergvall, nor with Odegaard, nor with the majority of type of players.
But that's not how it. But Dan, you're not listening. That's not how it works. They
Maybe
won't all have the same. They won't all have the same thing put in. They will all have something put in from their agent that says. If Spurs sign 5 players that go in over 100 grand a week, my salary at 75k gets to match 100k. Then you'll have the next ones going, hang on, if we have somebody who joins at 250, Sonny, for example.
Only one.
Right? No, not the only one.
Romero.
James Maddison will have something. Romero will have something.
Okay,
Loads.
there's 3.
Yes, but Dan, those are the 3 at the top. Then it filters down. Honestly, mate, you've got to watch some videos on how football clubs play their players and structure.
I know how it works. I just do not believe that we have Archie Grays and we have Bergvalls and we have Odegaards and we have Solankis and we have average players like this who would then be entitled to double their wages because we've slammed it down on another player.
You're not listening. I didn't say double for everyone, Dan. You do this all the time. You take it so literally. Listen to the words I'm saying.
I've listened to everything you've said. I just don't agree with you.
But Dan, I've worked for a Premier League club. I've seen their contracts. This is it's not a no, Dan, don't do that. This isn't well done. Dan, when I worked at Chelsea, you would not believe what is written into every player's contract from
a very different club with very different bloody money.
Dan, let me finish. Dan, no. This is how all of this. The level of understanding here. I'm really worried about football fans. They don't get it. From the youth team right the way through to the senior team, everyone's got a level of clause for something. Mikey Moore will have a clause for something. Yeah. Gray will have a clause for something. If I play X amount of games, I go to this salary.
Yes,
if we sign this player, we go to this salary. That's not just a Chelsea thing when I was working there. That's let me finish. That's an every club thing. So, so if Spurs go and get more players on bigger wages, you have no understanding of the effect it has dropping down everyone. I'm not saying,
and I know what clauses are in there, Savva.
Let me finish. I'm not saying that we don't do it because of that reason, but it's not as simple as just saying whack the money down on one, because whacking that money down on one, if you give Edison 250 grand a week, you're probably making up another 500 grand a week across the rest of the squad, adding up over the week. That's the problem. Football fans don't think about that. Right. It's not just one more player getting 250 grand a week.
Let's face it. These agents have ruined the football.
Point. Yes, they have.
The point I am making.
You are bang on. The agents have ruined football, but this is what fans don't ever take into account. Yeah. Do you know what, Mark? The funny thing as well, a lot of these footballers, it won't even just be wage hikes. A lot of them will have bonuses attached.
But that's what Tottenham do, allegedly.
If so-and-so signs for 250k, I want a 5 million payoff to offset. These things are rife through every football contract.
Have you ever seen the things that come out about the agents?
Reezy, I worked for a Premier League football club. I was privy to looking at all of their contracts. This is how it works, Reezy. Right. Stop. No, I'm talking to Reezy. Reezy, stop. I'm not wrong. I've been privileged enough to see it. Right?
Have you seen the things? Sorry.
I've been privileged enough to see it, Reezy. Right? This is how it works. As football fans, we can sit and debate what we think of this player is better than that player. But when we're talking about the ins and outs of how agents, clubs, intermediaries, and contracts work, This is not wrong. I am very, very right.
I know
Stop.
you are.
This is
I know.
ridiculous, Reezy.
I know you're right on what you're saying, Savva. I know how a bloody contract works, yeah? The point I'm making here is I personally don't believe that there is enough Spurs players there, maybe 3, that would have on their contract that they're
No.
entitled to a significant pay rise if we went and bought someone on 200 grand a week.
Savva,
Tell me
Don't
3
get how
others.
it
Tell me
works
others.
then. You
Savva,
don't get how it works.
Tell me others.
It's-
Tell me others that would have that. Tell me others that
would-
Daniel Levy would sign that.
Savva,
If we go and get a player for
Savva, have you ever seen?
Everyone knocks, Dan, everyone's knocks on. If we've got 4 tiers of players in brackets, wages, if this tier get paid this tier go up a bit as they go up a bit, this tier go up a bit as this tier go up a bit. It's not about you're doing the basic thing where you are thinking I'm saying that every player goes to 200 grand a week. It's not. There will be players that get an extra 5 grand a week if that happens. There'll be players that get an extra 10 grand across the squad, which is about 45, 50 footballers across the club. That adds up. One player might get an extra 60 grand a week. One player might get an extra 20. One player might get. It just goes boop, 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 boop.
Have you ever seen the
it does at every other
Have you ever
club,
seen the Have you ever seen the
same
facts
as
and
every
figures?
other club? Yes, exactly the same as every other club.
So
Have
we
you ever
still
seen
got
the
to
facts
put
and
down the
figures?
higher wages and get the better players. If other clubs can do it and it has the same knock-on effect like you say, why can't we do it if we up our wages?
I'm
That's all
not saying we can't. I'm just saying I'm not saying we can't. If you listen to me, I said we should be doing it. But this is what will be going through Daniel Levy's head as a shrewd businessman is, do I want to bring that? He'll sit down and go, right, let's say Paratici's in next year. Right, Daniel, we can get Edison. It's going to cost us £60 million transfer fee, I don't know. And he wants 250 grand a week. Cool. First thing Daniel Levy's going to do. Daniel Levy, by the way, is a bloody accountant, right? Yes. Daniel Levy and his CFO and all those people are going to sit down and go, right, what's the knock-on effect for this? Now, it could be that he goes, right, well, if he does that, these players get that, this goes to that, his clause, that bonus, this goes there. Sonny's going to get another 50, 100 grand a week. Right, what's that end number, weekly, monthly, yearly? What does that mean for our P&L? If that number at the end of the day isn't what Daniel Levy likes, he's going to turn around to Paratici and go, get me a player that doesn't trigger all of those clauses. Get me someone who comes in at less than Son, who is the top earner at the football club.
I get all that.
I'm not saying it's right. That's just how it works.
Right.
I'm not
saying
I wasn't
saying you're necessarily wrong. I was just saying I can't see many players that Daniel Levy, as this shrewd businessman, as this executive, as you just said, that would have given it on their contract, no matter what their agents say, that you get this much of a significant pay rise if this happens. Now, maybe at Chelsea, now maybe at Man U, now maybe
they wouldn't sign. He'd have to, or they wouldn't sign. Dan.
No,
that's
I disagree. I disagree. So you look
that's
at the
how
players
agents work. I don't think you understand the role of a football agent.
I don't think you understand the point I'm making. I don't think Levy personally would give the same extension to him. Speak for yourself. I personally think that Levy, this shrewd businessman,
they don't take these clauses out because it's Daniel Levy.
Well, if Daniel Levy ain't going to sign the bloody contract, then there ain't going to be no clause or contract. And I do not believe that we would slam down contracts to people like Archie Gray and everyone that would give them that much of a massive step. Now, Son and that, I agree with. Romero, I agree with. Bigger players, I agree with, yeah. But I don't think it would make that much of a difference to the young squad.
I know, but the fact you're saying you don't think it would, it does. It all adds up, Dan.
I know it all adds up, but I don't think it would add up that significantly to what it would with some of the bigger players. We don't do it like Chelsea, and I can't picture Daniel Levy being
every club does it. Every club, every agent, every intermediary, they all work the same way. They all work the same way, Dan.
You're saying so? Okay, so Archie Gray can get on his contract, right? If that goes up, mine 50% goes up, and Daniel Levy's going to go, yeah, there you go. But
Dan, you're going silly. Archie Gray's agent. Listen, you asked me a question. I'm answering it. Archie Gray's agent wouldn't be in a position to say we want a 50% pay rise. Archie Gray at the level the player is, it's all. I can't explain this in layman's terms anymore for people that don't understand business. This is just ridiculous. The level a player comes in at will determine how much their agent can negotiate, right?
Okay.
So Edison's agent, this guy's coming in as a very sought-after player who's going to have offers from all over Europe. He's going to turn around and go, he wants 250 grand a week. However, if you bring in anyone who's on over 250 grand a week, my client automatically goes as the top earner, right?
I agree.
Sure. Then you get the lower level players. So you'll get younger players. You'll get players like Maddison, who won't be at that level, but Maddison could turn around and go, right, you're offering me, I'm making this up, 100, and I think he's on like 150 grand a week. Cool. But if you bring in 5 players that are on above 150 grand a week, then I get an extra 20 grand a week, right? Then you'll have levels of players like Archie Gray and Bergvall go, okay, we're coming in. Actually, Bergvall will be very different because he was a very low contract. Archie Gray, I'm sought after apparently. 75 grand a week. Cool. We want it that if so-and-so happens, if X, Y, Z, whatever it is happens that triggers all of these different clauses, I want an extra 10 grand, 5 grand a week. Now, that's not a lot of money. When you add the ones at the top who have gone up, then the ones in the middle, then the ones at the bottom, right? That money adds up. Daniel Levy is a great businessman. That doesn't mean that he's not playing the game with the agents for clauses, for bonuses.
Totally
they would never sign for Tottenham if that was the case.
Who was the one? Who was the one that Daniel had to go and negotiate with to get him over the line? And that was to do with bonuses. And who was the one he spent all? Was it last summer or last winter? He flew out to Portugal to get him.
Porro.
Yeah, Porro.
Yeah, but I'm totally
agree with what you're saying. And that was all to do with his wages.
I just don't think there is a significant amount of players in our team that would have
all
a
of
significant.
They all have.
Let me finish.
They all have.
If you let me finish, you haven't listened to what I said. I don't think there is a significant amount of players in our team that would have a significant pay rise. If you listen to the whole sentence,
down per level.
I know
so
that, but then it happens same as it happens at every club. Is why we need to put our wage barrier up, and that is all I am saying.
Even if it's only 5 grand a week for everyone, you got 40 players. That's 200 grand.
You seem to understand how transfers and contract negotiations work.
Yes,
that's
I
the
do.
worry.
I am just saying.
Everything you say, you don't get it.
Yes, I do get it. Don't tell me what I get and don't get. I do get it.
But your answers are showing you don't get it. You're going, I doubt many players at Spurs. They all will at different levels.
Yes.
They will
you
all
didn't
have.
Listen to what I said. I said
I heard exactly what you said. You said
now,
it wouldn't be significant.
If I go and do this at Chelsea, if we go and do this at Man U, the pay rise thing is going to be phenomenal. Yeah, I know that. But at Spurs, I don't actually think there's enough players on that high money where it would damage the system as bad as you're saying. Because I don't think
I'm not saying it would damage the system. You're not listening to what I'm saying. You're not listening to what I'm saying. Daniel Levy will look and say, what is the cost to Spurs by doing this over the next year? Right? What is the juice worth the squeeze? Any chairman will do this. This isn't a Daniel Levy thing. This isn't a Tottenham thing. Any chairman will do this. Daniel Levy just happens to be more frugal than most of the chairmen. So for Daniel Levy to go and do that, if we think he's going to go and get 3 players in one window who all get over 200 grand a week, the knock-on effect will be phenomenal. And we can sit here and go,
do that.
Right, but if we're going to sit there and say, I don't think it is going to be, I don't think there is. The world of football agents and intermediaries would blow your mind if you saw the contracts. It would blow your mind at how wrong you are.
I am not saying 3 players at 200,000, Savva. I am saying we need to up our wage structure so we can do that.
Like
every other club does, and every other club survives doing it, the bigger clubs. When we've got the money to do it, we up our wage structure. We can afford to do this, can we not? Even with the knock-on effect.
I'm not saying we, but you didn't listen to what I said at the beginning.
That's all I've been saying.
No, you always do this, and that's all I've been saying. I've not argued that that's how it should work. I'm arguing that Daniel Levy doesn't do it for these reasons. You know he doesn't. You know Daniel Levy keeps it all run on a tight ship because the moment you bring in one that breaks that wage barrier, it has a knock-on effect. Now the next player that comes into the club's going to go, well, hang on, that player joined at 250. Right. Now all of a sudden, Daniel Levy's not got this tight, lean structure that he wants. So when we're saying just go and pay the money, it's just not that simple with our chairman. He's just not built that way.
I haven't disclosed that in any way. As all I have said from day one is if we upped our money, I didn't say Daniel Levy would or anything like that. We could do significantly more things with more players. And then even with the knock-on effects, because if every other team can do it, we can do it as well. Yes, we both know Levy won't do it. As all I've been saying from day one is I get everything you are saying, but we could up our wage structure and afford to do it as well if Daniel Levy wasn't such a tight bastard in that aspect. And I don't feel the knock-on effect would be as bad with Spurs as it would be with someone like Chelsea. As it would
in our own way, Dan. It would in our own way, because the thing is, again, you're looking at the basic number, not at the business. This is the difference, Dan. Chelsea, right? Chelsea will have a number that they don't want to go past. Yeah. Spurs will have a number they don't want to go past. Spurs is going to be a lot less than Chelsea's. So any knock-on is exactly the same for both clubs because they will have a number they don't want to go past. It's not about Chelsea v Spurs.
No, but if we added up our wage structure, we have nowhere near the amount of players on money that Arsenal do, that Villa do, that every other club.
Of course we don't run our club in the same way.
Exactly. So if we just upped our wage structure, is all I'm saying, we can more than afford to do this. I think we're just going to have to both agree to disagree. I get your point. Sure. As all I want is the wage structure.
Disagree. I get how Spurs are run, and you seemingly don't.
Can I make a quick point?
I just say we should up the wage structure. And
can I make a quick point?
Go on, Mark.
Can I make a quick point, right? Why do you think our wage bill has been lowered the last year on year, right? Do you know why it's been lowered? Because it increases the value of the club. This is what Daniel Levy is like.
Exactly.
He will not go out and spend 300,000 a week. Our wage bill.
Why? We don't just slap money down.
Why do you think? Hang on a minute. I haven't spoken for bloody 15 minutes here, right? So I'm going to speak.
Chill out.
Right? No, I'm just saying, right? This is why our wage bill is constantly been lowered and lowered and lowered. Why do you think a couple of summers ago, all the top wage, all right, some of the players they needed to go. Lloris, Harry Kane left. Ellie's bloke left. What's his name? Højbjerg. All the top earners left. And now it's Daniel Levy. This is why we're bringing in all the kids. Because they're on low wages and it increases the value of the club. Whether he's looking to sell or not, I don't know. Obviously, we don't know. But this is why he will not pay the wages. Because the value of Tottenham Hotspur has now skyrocketed.
Okay, Mark. And now what I'll say to you is no shit, Sherlock. I get all that.
But this is why.
As all I've been debating, the whole point is that listen to the first word, if we upped our pay structure like we could afford to, like we should, we would be able to do this stuff with the knock-on effects and everything. Could we or could we not? I didn't say we will or won't.
It's not how we run, and it's not what we're going to do, which is the whole point I've been saying all the way along. We've got to stop worrying about just going in and having this notion of just slap money down on the table. It's not going to happen. So what we need to worry about is scouting. What we need to worry about.
We've got to do it. I get it.
Listen, I am going to, in the show, because I do need to go and I've got some more shows later on. But I like to look at things a bit deeper than just saying, just try and just whack money down, because it's just not how football works. It's not how agents work. It's not how intermediaries work. It's not how chairmen work, unless they are chairmen like Chelsea's chairman. that don't give a flying monkeys, right?
Yeah.
That's just not how football works. And I'll be honest, I get really frustrated when I sit and hear people talk about football like it's Football Manager. It's having worked for 2 professional football clubs, and you see this stuff that goes on, the things that fans talk about isn't what happens on a daily basis. It's so far removed what we think to what actually happens behind closed doors. And
I
there's
haven't disputed none of that.
documentaries on it. There's YouTube videos on it from scouts and intermediaries. They'll tell you how it all works. So when I hear fans go, just chuck money down, it frustrates me because it's just not how it works.
Have you seen the facts and figures about the agents and that and what they earn and order? It's craziness.
It's craziness. But my whole point the whole time has been, if Spurs would do what they could actually afford to do, if we had a chairman willing to do it and put the higher wage structure down on the table, things would be significantly better. That is all I've been saying the whole time. And you've been going deep into it, and I totally get what you're saying, but I've only been making one point, and it is a big is if we did up our wage structure and we did put bigger money down, we would get better players and we would also be able to afford the system. Sure, but we don't do it.
Every football club could have that conversation, right? Every single football club could say, if we did this, if we did that. For me, I'm more concerned about what's in our capability. For me, I'm more concerned that we're not going out and scouting. That's where my concern is. I don't think you need, I'll say this again, I don't think you need to slap down big money and big wages to get to the next level where we want to go.
Again, I agree. We need good scouting for it. But my whole point, the whole bin has been, adding a bit of money onto that wage structure wouldn't do no harm, would it?
But we're not going to do it.
I agree, but it will for Daniel Levy.
Yes, I know that.
But again, okay, let's just think. So I'm waiting for a delivery, which is why I keep looking at that.
Historically, the last few years, the wage bill has gone down.
Yeah, I know.
The last 3 years.
So on one hand, we want Daniel Levy and Enoch to sell the club, right? Which all ties into them reducing wage bill year on year, right, to make it more attractive. But on the other hand, we're saying just go in and slap money. Like, which one is it we want? Do we want them for the long term to go and slap loads of money down, or do we want them to sell the club and it be more attractive, or do we want some kind of hybrid in the middle? Can't have it. Can't have it all ways.
Yeah, 100% right. If Daniel Levy was to totally change his attitude and look on the football side, I don't care if he stays. But he don't look at the football side. He don't care. So he's got to go. So I totally get what everyone is going with. And like I say, on contracts, yes, I do understand how they work and I do get it. My only point the whole has been is if we upped our money salary, even though Levy probably won't, if we did, then we could get significantly better players, even though we are only Tottenham Hotspur and we could afford the knock-on
Didn't work with Kolo Muani, did it?
But we just don't do it. I'm not saying it'd work with every player, but I think we could get better players.
Didn't work with Tomori, didn't work with Kolo Muani, didn't work with Ezra Doué, didn't work with Conor Gallagher.
Right.
It's a very,
and there's many other players it could work with as well. Yeah, but there's many players it could work with as well.
Sure, but it's not a rocket. Listen, I do need to end the show. Before I do, big up to Arsenal, just a spicy Spurs. Thank you, as always, for the super sticker. Really appreciate you, my man. Vineet, appreciate you, as always. Said this argument that Poch ain't a winner is lazy. People win with players that they work with what did Ancelotti win with Everton? I mean, Ancelotti was at Everton for about 6 months, weren't he? Napoli and PSG. Agreed, though, Poch was too nice to be effective. I get it, but he's not a winner, is he? He's not a get you over the line guy. He's just not. And Vindaloo said, big up Savva and the lads. Could it be Levy has the money to buy the big players, but the players just don't want to play for Spurs? E.g., you never win anything. Vindaloo, this ties into it as well. We just seem to think that if we put the money down that we're attractive. I don't think we're attractive, but it's a conversation for another day. I really appreciate you. Take care, everyone. I'll be back today at 6 o'clock for a fan calling show. And then at 10 to 8, we've got Inter Milan versus Barcelona on FHTV+. Take care, everyone. See you later. And as always, come on, you Spurs.